say you are talk to me. Tell me why Babylon, Mr. Policeman. There's no stopping what can't be stopped. No killing what can't be killed. Mr. Policeman. You can't see the eyes of the demon until him come calling. There's no stopping what can't be stopped. No killing what can't be killed. You can't see the eyes of the demon until him come calling. Tell me why Babylon. They say you are taught to me.
Hello, everybody. Hello. Is my Duncan? Are you there? Can you talk?
Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, listen to that. Duncan. I'm going to put our intro music up because we've got some funky intro music. What I likes to play. Oh, this week the chat window's working, the counter's working. What a fucking relief after last week.
Indeed.
That's good stuff. Welcome aboard, everybody. It's very sedate. I'm having a nice cup of tea in Robocop. You're having a nice cup of tea as well, aren't you, Duncan?
I am mint tea.
Oh, me too. Mint tea. Can't have caffeine in the evening. Like a fucking rock and fucking roll, my man. So here we are. Welcome. Another great background overlaid by Ian McGar. This is the week of contributions. The jungle track you just heard is by DJ Coleman Music, who is in the chat, and that's called Danny Boy. And it's from his album that's available on Bandcamp. So please, DJ, please put that in the chat for us there. That'd be lovely. Raphael is in the room. He did the lovely Predator on the Valverde Tower artwork that we saw earlier on Twitter. And I just coincidentally happened to have added Raphael sent that Duncan's got his ones of these. He sent us these kind of laser cut wooden Valverde key rings ages ago. In this nice little custom Valverde envelope.
Very cool.
This little, and just coincidentally he posted some artwork up today. So this is the week of contributions to this shit. So
I actually shout out to TGV of the Urban Gentry, but I sent him one of those in his care package that we sent him.
Oh.
Spread the love.
There you go. Put us at the top 10. We're number 1 in his top 10 channels, which was exceedingly generous. So there you go. Just a bit of the usual admin. You can leave super chats, and that's greatly appreciated, but we don't expect it. You don't have to. If you do want to tip, though, you can put it in the PayPal, because if you do it through PayPal, we get all of it. Whereas if you do your super chats, YouTube keep 30%. So there's the money grubbiness out of the way. So yeah, what have you been doing this week, Duncan?
What's the bit of this week? I have been mainly. My Brummie accent, I tell you, that's come about because obviously, as some of you will know, my wife and I are expecting. And we've been, of course, watching One Born Every Minute, which is just the same thing every time. So, but then we got a bit bored of that and we switched to the BBC equivalent, which I have dubbed "Babies What Come Out of Fannies," because it's the same thing, right? It's in the same hospital in Birmingham, and it has a name, and I don't know what it is. And we were looking through the iPhone to find it, and I was like, it's just called "Babies What Come Out of Fannies." I refuse to learn the title, so I actively look away when it comes on the screen because it is just called "Babies What Come Out of Fannies."
Oh wow, fair play. Is it? I mean, I know they're not going to show. They wouldn't dare show a vagina on the BBC, but is it fairly graphic? I imagine it's quite gory.
What they do is they blur out the labia.
What but leave the head.
Leave the baby coming through the. Yeah, it comes through this like.
That's
blur.
Amazing. I'm sure there is a percentage of the population, but who's going to be titillated by like a torn vagina? You know what I mean? Like, I know someone will be, but but who exactly? Volume is a tad high. That's the intro music. I'm taking it down. I just want it funky. I just want to be funky when we come in. I want a funky intro, which I think I've got. I've given us a funky intro, man. I'm fine with that. You'll notice that Duncan and I'm using a shotgun mic. Duncan's got his mixing desk and his performance stand out. We've had a minor upgrade, such in the world of increasingly minor stream upgrades.
Just like the Predator in The Predator.
In The Predator.
We have stolen the DNA of other podcasters. No, it's just, honestly, up until now, I've just been lazy not getting all this stuff out because...
We're going to sort out some lighting for you as well. I think that's the next thing. But we do have the issue of, I think introducing things that are not related to babies into your house is problematic at the moment, understandably.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit, you know. But there's no danger of me coming and stinking up the place because it's not allowed, is it?
Yeah, it's
Not
true.
allowed.
So, what have you been up to, Richard? Apart from preparing yourself to talk about your favourite Predator,
the best Predator film. No,
I'd
go one more. It's the best Predator film. I really like the part how we know the outcome to the mystery they're solving. That's my favourite part about Predator 2. I really love that. I think it's a really, really good, worthwhile story. What have I been doing this week? That's a very good question. I got this mixing desk in. One of my friends is becoming a streamer. She wants to start streaming, so I'm going to show her how that's done. But I can't. I've got to do it remotely because of diseases. I've collected my dad's medicines twice. Took my parents some light bulbs. I cleaned the bathroom. I'm getting quite excited about cleaning the kitchen. I've really not a lot, Duncan. Not a lot has happened in the intervening weeks since the last stream. I'm sure there's something else. I really am sure there's something else, but I couldn't tell you what it was. So no, just gearing up. I knew Predator 2 would win because I just thought, what an amazing film. That's brilliant. That will win the vote. And then the thing is, I don't hate Predator 2. I don't hate Predator 2. I'm not mad about it. But this is one of these, I do kind of find, when Duncan and I have a disagreement about something, and this is I would probably say, maybe I think it's a 5 out of 10, and you would say it's an 8 out of 10 or something, right? It's not like there's this huge gulf in our opinions or anything like that. It's not 1 out of 10 and 10 out of 10. But because there's not much we disagree, and when we do, it's kind of battle lines are drawn, I'm going to fucking destroy this shit, and it's not like that, Ain't like that, So
it's I feel my life. I enjoy it. I think it's more, it's so sort of poppy and crazy, and I think it's more in the vein of the first film than people think. I get a lot of people say it's quite comic booky and over the top, and it's didn't you watch Predator? For me, it feels like in terms of its tone, it's kind of that's what the first one was. It's just set somewhere else.
I don't have any issue with its tone. Yeah. And it does go more sci-fi because they put because they put laser pointers, laser sights on the guns.
Yeah,
because it's everyone will have those, and it's because it's it's the near future, isn't it? Because it's spacey in 1997, so it's not meant to be the far. There's no flying cars and shit, and the level of sci-fi in it is totally acceptable in a universe with alien hunter guys.
Yeah,
absolutely, and I think the tone of it, it's got the music's back and stuff. I don't think Stephen Hopkins is no John McTiernan. We all know what Stephen Hopkins' best thing is, don't we, Duncan? Sorry, any excuse. Yes, no, he was quite heavily involved in 24, wasn't
he? Yeah. He helped get it off the ground. Just to let you know, we've received £10 from Andrew Capitz.
Andrew Capitz, thank you very much, Andrew. I don't see in the chat. I always say this: if you are. If you're one of the quiet ones in the chat, please pipe up. We'd love to hear from you. Yeah, we'd love to hear from these people in the chat. Got all kinds of regulars, man, today. Simon Pope, Steve Allen, Floyd Dillon, Brian Shields, I am Snorlax, Simon Pope again. I've said it twice. Ross Sanders, Heartless Nobody, L. Thomas Catter, Kate, I always get that wrong. Captain Meets Adventures, Ewan Callister, Ian McGar, who did our overlay, as you can see. Sean Needham, Mark Flanagan, Joe Mitchell, Will New, Fremantle85, Dijon Coleman, of course. I've seen Raphael in the chat. Will and Matt's excellent podcast. Aaron Dry, Turtle Flipper, Adrian Mendoza, Professional Moron, Scully. I'm trying to get everybody I can here. Everyone is checking. Errol the Ponce, Mr. HEC 381991, Captain Meets Adventures again. Dusty Dwyer 6 Mumps. I've never seen Dusty Dwyer 6 Mumps before. Hey man, he says all right. Andrew K, Alex Naum again. There you go. I think I covered most people. If I didn't give you a shout out, tell me and I'll do it because I feel rotten. 123 people. Fuck, that shot up quick.
Joe says, Duncan up, please. Am I not coming through loud enough? I don't know.
Duncan up. Let me see.
I'm assuming that's what you mean.
Duncan, you're in danger of peaking on my end, so I'm trying to keep your levels. Yeah, there you go. I've dialed you up a bit. Because my mic's quieter than your mic, I think. I will monitor the situation.
Very good. So this I like this film, but it's got a fellow Bahamian actor in it. So,
yeah, listed on IMDb next to you.
That is Calvin Lockhart, the late great Calvin Lockhart.
No longer with us. Oh, Philip Casey's here. Casey the senior. Hello, Philip. Good to see you, mate.
I
I believe, is this one of the ones you watched with you and Philip would watch together?
No, I don't want to speak for him. I don't believe he's a fan of this film.
So he's just,
Don't
Philip,
remember watching
Philip,
it.
you tried to raise him, right? Didn't you? You did your best. But
Yeah,
look,
but see,
they
it
always
was
rebel against their parents, no matter how wrong they are. In this case, Duncan's very wrong. Listen to your elders.
No, it's one of those things like this and like Robocop 2 and all that. Like my dad wasn't into, and I was, but then I was like, when you're a sort of younger teenager or whatever, this sort of thing is kind of up your alley. It's only later on, and your criticism of it being, procedural in the sense of like we know there's this huge cloud of dramatic irony that hangs over it, and it's sort of almost a film that's designed around its audience not knowing what a predator is.
Well, because that's the through line of the first one.
Yeah.
And then they do it again. So when someone's investigating, I won't go on about this too much, but when someone's investigating a mystery, you know the solution to. It's hard, and what's going to happen. Danny Glover's going to fight an alien and win. And it expands the mythology a little bit. There's extra weapons, and there's new predator weapons, predator ship, and there's the cool kind of what are they? They are a basketball team. That Danny Glover's favorite basketball team that portray and Kevin Peter Hall as well.
Yeah,
so,
the late great again, and Bill Paxton.
Yeah. It's just this list. It's like that fucking. I tell you what, man. When next time they do the death list for the Oscars after Corona, it's going to take about 9 hours. Like there's so much has gone on, man, and they probably won't do the Oscars for another year or something, I guess. Philip Casey, the senior Casey, says Predator was good, but sequels often offer very little new. He's absolutely right in this case. Just so correct. So thunderingly correct, isn't he, Duncan?
I mean, look, it's fair. It's a fair thing to say, but
that's a position I'm adopting for the sake of this evening.
Fine.
There's other things where I don't think that, but I'm just adopting it for the sake of antagonising your son, Philip, which is something we do to each other,
Yep.
I'm on mint tea, no drinking. I'll tell you what I did this week, Duncan. I shaped my beard.
Oh, yes.
My beard was a big mess, and I shaped it, and I was worried about shaping it, but it came off all right in the end, actually. I thought it was all right. I took my time. I watched some tutorials. Like, that's what that generally, like, not a lot has gone on. I've got to say. Though something I talked to Duncan and I talked about earlier, and I'll do a probably announcement video about this or something. We're going to move all the gaming stuff to Twitch, or back to Twitch, really. Just because perhaps I think it may be... Gaming stuff never did massively well on this channel anyway, and I think it kind of slightly dilutes the output, and it should be more movie-focused. So, we'll be on Twitch doing game shit, which we might do on this weekend. But, you don't even have to have an account to watch stuff on Twitch. So if you want to come and watch me and Ivan and any other configuration, I think Angelo will come and do like a stream with me, and my friend Dan probably, stuff like that. It'll be on Twitch. So that's fun, isn't it? That's a fun thing.
No, I think that's a solid plan. Kieran Swain has sent us £5 on PayPal. Thank you, Kieran.
Kieran is. Oh well, no, I won't blow his cover. Actually, he probably doesn't want that. Hold on, bloody hell! Have I got an offer of work? Oh, sorry. This is. I would never normally stop in the middle of a stream, but like offers of work right now are. Fuck! Can I just reply to this? I'm sorry. I would normally never, but like.
So unprofessional.
Sorry, I just haven't had an offer of work for working so long. I'm just like...
I think the penalty for this should be that Richard has to watch Predator 2 at least 3 more times.
The penalty is I have to like it.
Yeah, that's it. You have to change your opinion.
I want an essay about why you like it now. That's what I want. Oh, fucking... Oh, look, I've got my... This got broken, but I fixed it. Because that's a thing I did this week. I fixed my fucking lawgiver, man.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's looking badass, and I've got my Mankale Dread badge with me as well. So that's sort of just putting things into my background, But the lawgiver look. I was twirling the lawgiver because I was quite good at twirling it. Yeah. And when I had my broken leg and I dropped it, and I probably wouldn't have caught it anyway, but there was definitely no chance of catching it with a broken leg, and the barrel snapped off.
Oh dear!
So I've got to say, like on camera, it actually looks better than it does in real life. It looks fucking badass. I'm gonna put that there. I'm gonna probably find a way to mount it. Find a mount. Oh no! My
Don't drop it now.
Oh, on air as well. Okay, now.
Right, go on then. Reply to that. Let's see what's in the chat. Hey Dylan, says Steve Allen. Punishment for Richard watching Watchmen: The Ultimate Cut and forcing him to enjoy it. You can't force Richard to enjoy it. So yeah. Richard must watch all of Gerard Butler's films. I don't think you're a particular Gerard Butler hater, are you? I don't think that's...
I did. I'm certain I went off on one once about him.
Okay.
But it's sort of like I'm not particularly apt to have a go at a Scott in Hollywood. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I'm a little bit like, what the fuck was that all about? Because there's so much Gerard Butler, and it's just like, why? He just seems to fail upwards.
Well, yeah, that's true.
But you know. Simon Pope suggests that I should watch The Predator as punishment. Which I did watch with Ivan recently because I don't think he'd seen it, and I was just like, man, you've got to see this because it's insane.
It is insane. It's terrible. It's the worst film I've seen in a long time. Joe Duncan, have you ever had a beard? Yes.
Yeah.
If you go and watch Fistful of Lead, you will see that I had a beard in that.
And for the shoot of that, you then had to keep that beard. There's a bunch of stuff where Duncan's got this kind of crazy cowboy beard that came out. But
yes, I did. Yeah, because we had what was it, like 2 or 3 months, I think, between that and the pickups. So I still had to keep my beard. So. Yeah, and in fact I didn't, because I after all that I went on to Erica, and somehow like the scheduling of Erica worked out that I was just about able to get, like, I had a kind of stubbly beard in that, but I was able to kind of get a sort of 5-day window between that and when I was going back to Fistful of Lead, so I was able to like grow it again a bit, and it worked. It just about worked.
This is beard talk. Beard talk on Valverde Broadcasting. Beard chat. But I've enjoyed learning about maintaining my beard. That is the level that we're at. That's my entertainment. Like,
didn't you have beard oil at one point? You told me you had beard oil.
Yeah. And also balm, because you're supposed to be moisturised and shit. I mean, I think probably like if you've got a good beard, you don't have to. If you've got a shit one like mine, you just have to put all the products in it and stuff. I never made that much fucking effort with my hair, man. My beard's getting way more attention than my fucking head ever did. There you go. Might have to. Yeah, someone's saying CGI beard. I could just paint this green every week, because you can use chroma key in OBS Studio. It's a true story / fact. So there you go. So those of you, it's 140 people in the room. We're getting a good turnout for Predator 2. This is great
because it's the best one.
The best.
I think that's proof. I think
not
that's
merely
solid proof.
Just not merely the best Predator film, perhaps the best film. Just the best film. People talk about Citizen Kane. You know, there's all these highfalutin ideas. Did it come perhaps from the German tradition or Europe, or was it ever Hollywood? Could it be Bollywood? Can we cross those cultural boundaries? Is it somewhere in Asia, or is it just Predator 2? It's just best film ever made.
Well, don't forget that there is that outtake of the Predators all doing a dance sequence with
yes, that
Danny
is
Glover.
That
so
is
that's
very Bollywood. Yeah, very Bollywood. Richard, did you see any clips of Robocop in Mortal Kombat 11? Pretty sure he's got Peter Weller's voice. He has got Peter Weller's voice, that's confirmed. And I'm enjoying... I don't really play beat-em-up games, but I've watched endless clips because it's so silly. It's so silly, and it knows it's silly. Because speaking of doing dance things, like Robocop's friendship is he does the robot. He pulls out a beatbox and does the robot. And it's all silly and dumb, and I'm 100% in for it. I'm totally... yeah. It's just a shame that they've got... I hate to keep saying this, but they've got such a weak Schwarzenegger voice in that, which I find annoying. But yeah,
have they got Peter Weller?
Yeah, it's him.
So that's the thing. It's like when you've got actual Robocop and then made up Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, and do you know what? I think there's such a high level of Schwarzenegger impression available, as you know, Duncan. But but there's such a high level of Schwarzenegger impression. To have one that they have, which is kind of isn't amazing, is kind of not great.
Egregious.
So we have just... Peter Carlo says he sent a deep sea diver to Patreon, to PayPal. Thank you very much.
I'll check it,
Peter. Check it.
Check.
I've never heard deep sea diver as Ryan was saying. My dad always said Lady Godiva.
Yes, he has indeed. Thank you, Peter. Alex now, sorry, but stop having names I can't pronounce. Alex has sent us. Sorry, Alex.
Stop having names I can't pronounce. Amazing.
He said us 521, which is translated into 465 for some reason because there's a fee. I don't know why there's a fee on that. That's weird.
Oh, someone's just done a super chat. That would be Sean Danaher's just put in $4.99. Evening, boys. It's the best movie ever made about people solving a mystery you already know the answer to. Yes, I totally endorse it. Absolutely endorse it. Arnie picked the voice actor for MK11, says Ian McGar. I don't trust Arnie to make solid decisions, frankly. It's not like that to me, because you can totally imagine him in his kind of like bumbly old granddad mode going, "Yeah, the voice is fantastic."
Well, also sitting around with donkeys for counsel seems a little, it's just like that's all he seems to do nowadays. Just hang out with donkeys, polishing his boots and smoking stogies. I don't think he's in this. Yeah,
that's what happens when you poke your maid and put the baby in there.
Yeah, sure.
You're aware. My thing at the moment is just when someone confuses me, just saying you're a weird guy, Ace, and that's Arnold Schwarzenegger is very much in my "you're a weird guy, Ace" bracket at the moment. Watching a lot of what he's doing, I'm just kind of like, yeah, you're a weird guy, Ace. Him and his
weird guy. That's Dan
Marino. It's the only time you'll ever hear me quoting an American football player isn't Terry Crews, because I think that's the only two American football players that I know.
Dan Marino's also in Bad Boys too, but you wouldn't know that because you haven't seen Bad Boys.
I'm Nick Angel and you're Danny Butterman. We've established this.
Very much, yeah.
Because I formerly looked a bit like Simon Pegg once.
And I used to be a fact. So.
I wasn't going there. I didn't know you then as well, so as far as I'm concerned, that was never a thing. Arnold's got a TikTok with his tank and shit. God damn. Of course he has.
Is it called My Tank and Shit?
Yeah, it's my tank and shit. Oh.
Then sometimes I take a shit in the tank. It's fantastic.
I hate to bring things, slamming down to earth again, but I watched Zodiac for the first time this week. David Fincher's Zodiac, because I'm a big fan of David Fincher, and for some reason I never watched Zodiac. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I found it thunderously dull.
God, I loved it. I thought it was great. I really liked it. And this is the funny thing, because it's like the inverse of Predator 2, because it's about people not solving a mystery we don't know the answer to.
Yes.
Because like it's you go into it knowing, if you know anything about Zodiac, you go into it knowing that they're not going to catch anyone.
Yeah.
And it's kind of this weirdly forensic kind of movie. I really liked it. It's long. It is long, but I was into it. I just I'm into. It's very, very, very character driven, and I was into that a lot because I think you're not really finding out anything about the killer particularly. It's more about the people that investigated him and what it did to them and how they behaved and how Mark Ruffalo looks so much like Columbo. In that movie.
I mean, I didn't mind it. I thought it was, I was probably not in the mood to really watch something like that. I think at the time, so it might have been my.
Man, I would not judge you because you're basically, here's a 3-hour period film about people not solving a mystery. It's not a great tee up, is it? Like, and I don't blame you. I've just had Ivan on my case for ages. Like, you've got to watch this, so we did, and I was into it. I've caught Joe. I was just about to say. Joe Mitchell said, "Have you guys seen Mindhunters? Have you watched Mindhunters?"
Yeah, I've watched. But I think we watched most of the first season, but we haven't got beyond that.
I dipped in. I watched chunks of it because Ivan had it on, and I was just kind of like, before I saw Zodiac, and I was kind of like, oh god, this is really because Fincher's involved. This is really Finchery, and it just had that tone, that kind of slow burning sort of like pulp novel tone of characters unwinding each other and stuff. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm just going to interject with a little bit of housekeeping. So we're going to be watching Predator 2. If you hadn't gathered that, then you're probably in the wrong place. We will do a countdown at 10:30 from 10 or 47 or whatever I'm feeling like for you to press play on your copy of Predator 2 so we can watch it together, which I don't think there are any weird funky cuts of Predator 2 that I know about. Unless there's something with this being your favourite film.
No. I'm just doing... PayPal at the moment because we've had a few more in. Okay. So
I'm going to go open my window because it's suddenly fucking boiling in here.
Okay, I'm going to do the same thing because my laptop's actually kind of a bit nuts. So, one sec, I'll be doing this. Sorry, people.
That was some pretty deadbeat podcasting there. We've just both abandoned our stations, but you may have had a nice view of my nuts as I sailed past the camera there, which I hope you enjoyed. That was for your enjoyment. Just telling the boys and girls that they may have seen my crotch go past the camera there, Duncan.
Yes, mine also. James Harris sent us £20. Thank you,
Oh,
James.
wow, James, jeez.
He asks 2 questions. Question the first to Richard: if there was a scene that required a camera operator for a local film in the adult industry, would you consider it for a fee, or would the experience alone suffice as payment? Richard,
I have actually. So I do have some kind of relevant experience here. There's a porno producer he's really quite done a lot of big stuff, the big company stuff, who's based locally to me, and he made a comedy web series, and he which had like porn actors and stuff in it, which I'm just keen to point out was not a porno thing, and I was camera operator on that for a fee. I'm not sure. I don't want to offend people in the porno industry, but I'm not sure. I don't think I would do porn camera, because I think once you're associated with porn, it's kind of hard to get out of it. And I wouldn't really want to do that. And I really don't want to offend anybody, because now I know some people that do that, and I don't want to offend them. So I've tangentially worked in that world, but not in any kind of sex stuff. So it was just it's called the Dick Bush Show. You can see it on YouTube. He used to be on Channel Awesome years ago as the porn critic, and it's like a comedy show. So I camera upped on 2 episodes of that. So yeah, I've kind of seen a bit of a look into that world, and it's not really for me. So there is actually a career relevant answer to that question.
There you go. He asked me, he says, Duncan, could you amuse me by attempting the chorus of Carly Rae Jepsen's Call Me Maybe as a bewildered Christopher Walken? I can't remember the lyrics.
I just met you and this is crazy. Here's my number, call me maybe.
Hey, I just met you and this is crazy. But here's my number. Call me maybe. I don't know. I didn't really warm up.
It wasn't intense. It was kind of
there you go.
Sort of like he was quite
It's wistful because he's in love. You know? That's it. Call me maybe. I don't mind. You know. Call me or not. I don't care. I can't hear myself. There you go. That's better. Now I can hear myself. There. Okay. Yeah. You know. That's it. I mean, I've done it now, but...
we just had £5 from Adam Thornton. Thank you, Adam.
£5. I'm stuck like this now. James, what have you done?
You imagine if you were. My mum used to say, I don't know if this is like a Scottish thing, I don't know, but my mum would say, if you're pulling faces, my mum would say, if the wind changes, it will stay like that.
Yeah.
So what is that? You fucking
if the wind changes, son, it'll stay like that.
that.
Fuck off. No, right, said young Richard.
That's accurate, yeah. Accurate.
Ashley Gay sends us £5. Thank you.
£5, Ashley.
My dad has sent us £10. Thank you, Dad.
Oh, thank you, Philip. Thank you very much.
Good stuff as always, he says. He says. It's not true. It's terrible.
So I really regret mentioning doing that show, because now everybody's going like, Richard did porn. And the more you say I didn't, that sounds so much like the lady doth protest too much.
Yes,
you know what I mean? I did. Someone I know, actually, I won't name him. One of my friends, he's done lots of camera operator stuff. Someone offered him to be camera op on a porno. And he said yes, which I was a bit like, again, I suppose they leave your name off it, but I was a bit kind of like, okay, fine, dude, you do you. But when someone got wind of the fact this was happening...
I've got wind.
They falsely reported the porn shoot to the police as being child pornography, because they wanted it shut down. So the police turned up, ready to bust like child porn. They were just like, no, like there's grown-ups here, like what the fuck? So that's yet another reason to not get involved. Because even though nothing had happened, and it was a false accusation and stuff, I don't want to be seen around that. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to be seen around that. Like it's you know. But that is bullshit. Because somebody in the block of flats or something got wind of it and just lied to get rid of them, and also that elicited a police response that wasted resources that could be used. You know,
that's very true.
Elsewhere. But there you go. 1 minute left. 1 minute left. We can take.
What will we talk about? Let's just go really slow.
Just pad it out. Just pad it out. Yeah. Dijon Coleman, Richard, can you hold your lawgiver and ask it to load a double whammy? Dijon Coleman, despite me promoting his music, has insulted me deeply, and he's now cancelled. He's cancelled. Just like a racist 70s actor or whatever gets cancelled these days. You're cancelled. Dijon Coleman, you're cancelled.
Yeah.
Double whammy. I can't do I'm not even going to try. I'm not even going to, because in the presence of...
Whammy.
There you go. He's got the mouth and everything. It's great. Good stuff. Right. Shit, I walked away for a few minutes and come back to hear Richard say he did porn. Did I say that, though? Great. So now, this is what I mean. You mention it once, and it's kind of like, you did porn. And it's like, no, I didn't.
Welcome to the internet, my friend.
Yeah, great. This is the only time anyone's going to pay attention to anything I fucking say. It's kind of like, Richard did porn. Right, it's 8:30, so let's tee up our... fucking hell. Richard Provaznik sent you £40.
Oh, it's a Luke.
Just got the notification.
What,
PayPal,
so
yeah.
do
you want to read
Richard.
Do you want to read the thing?
It says, been a fan of your commentary. I'll stop doing that. Been a fan of your commentary since your previous endeavor. Both of your impressions always make me smile. Much love from the USA.
Well, there you go. Beautiful. Elton Moscator just giving
Richard
us £5.
£5. Fantastic.
Right, so let's get everybody get your copies of Predator 2 ready. I guess we're going in.
Good.
Rubber up. I'm not.
I don't make
really
sex
not helping
joke.
myself.
You're in no position to do that. You did porn.
Confirmed. Right, so let's count down from 10. I'm going to give everyone a bit of... I assume everyone just turns up to these either without a copy of Predator 2 or with it ready and primed to go. So let's have our 10-second countdown. So Predator 2. Are you ready, Duncan?
I am ready, Richard.
Okay. So we're going to go on go.
Very good.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go! Oh, it's Predator 2. Did you ever hear that thing? This is one of those bloody IMDb trivia page things that apparently, because they really couldn't settle on a cut for this, and they supposedly delivered the cut to the premiere with the ink still wet on the film. Not the ink, but the film still wet, because they'd only just developed the reels for the final cut.
That sort of seems to be the go-to phrase for any time a film is late in editing, as they say, oh, the print was wet when they handed it over. I mean, I don't know if that's true. Did they not have test audiences for this or anything? I would have thought they did.
Well, I don't know, because it's hard to tell. I mean, I can believe it, and that's not something I know from the position from which I strike. It could just be like Richard's getting the fucking boot into, it wasn't ready. Like that in no way I think affects the quality of a film. You know what I mean? I don't think there's any kind of...
So I love this intro because you get the jungle and then it pans up to the city, and that's a great way of saying, look, we've transitioned. We've gone to the concrete jungle.
No, I think it's shit and it doesn't work. No, I'm joking. That is a good... Yeah, that's a nice kind of transition. And I don't have an issue with it being set in the city. And what this goes to pains to say to you, you know, predators only go to places where it's hot, and this is all about, there's a heat wave, there's a crime wave, so they're attracted to heat and battle, and that's why it's here. Like, it establishes that really well. I just kind of feel like it doesn't necessarily know what to do with it after that. Bicoloured Prawn gave £5. Hi, guys. I recommend Judgment Night actor Stephen Hopkins. Oh, Judgment Night, another Stephen Hopkins film. It's good fun. Thanks for the content. Really cheers me up, especially this week. Our pleasure, Bicoloured Prawn, to cheer you up. Have you seen Judgment Night?
I have not.
Okay.
Back.
A barrel. The space year 1997.
Everything was kicking off in 97. Everything was good. Demolition Man was happening now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, technically, Los Angeles is on fire also. And,
it's going to be nuked in August.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Judgment Day is about to happen anyway.
I can't think of the... Oh, well, I did want to say, I was thinking about this earlier, because like now... Remember when lasers kind of, you know... Lasers for consumers were a novelty. Laser pointers, and they were an exotic thing to get, and now you get them in like the shittest shops, like absolute. They're just grotty little shops have lasers. This is at a point where lasers presumably took one enormous D battery to work. So they've got like these, and now when you see a laser target on a gun, it's like this little thing. It's like a little,
I don't understand, because in this they've also got like little cables that come out the back and wind their way down the pistol grip, which doesn't make any sense because it's like, what is it plugged into? Like, is there a battery?
Oh, I think they used to have like a little touchpad to activate on the grip, so the lead would come with the touchpad.
Fair enough. These two guys, look, when they go flying through the air, you can see the little launch thing that flicks them in the air. There you go.
Oh,
trivia. But it's a good stunt, and I think this is full of great stunt work and action and everything like that. I think it's really well put together.
The staging of it is awesome.
Yeah,
like it's like, I mean, look, that's the great shot as well. There's like a dead cop and then all the streets and stuff. El Scorpio. What else is El Scorpio in? He's in a bunch of stuff. He's like a stuntman.
Last Action Hero,
of course. And he was with Chico from Running Man. Chico, no! It's part of okay. Hardcore, rock bottom.
Yeah, I mean, that's what that is, isn't it? Basically. Hey, get your half truth.
Mr. Simpson, no!
So then I grabbed her sweet can. Me and my friend Ben do that every time we see each other. It's
oh, good. That's good. That's.
I'm sure quite annoying for everyone else, but we enjoy it.
Doesn't matter. Harrigan.
Danny Glover's coming. He don't give a fuck about your van or his car or his life or protocol or safety.
I do think. There's not much of a character. Is it Hartigan or Harrigan? Harrigan. There's not a lot to him.
Poor old Michael Harrigan again. I think there's not much to him.
He grew tendrils on his chin again.
Or evil alien again. But yeah, he's sort of in Lethal Weapon. I mean, it does feel like he's kind of like, I'm just doing Lethal Weapon again, but. He's great, and he gets unfairly compared to Schwarzenegger, and I think he's in banging shape. And like people are always like, oh, he's big and flabby and shit, and it's like, no, I mean, all right, compared to Schwarzenegger, he's not as buff.
I wouldn't fuck with him, Jesus.
No, exactly, and I think he's got a great energy in this as well. Like he's properly like. He's unhinged. That's the point of the character.
Yeah, true. It is a bit of a cliche, the kind of cop on the edge thing, but fuck it, it's in a Predator movie, you know? Where credit's due is what I'm...
Yeah. The only thing I'll say that's missing is a sort of reason for it. They never really say, oh, he's a 3-time divorcee or like he's kids.
That's what I mean. The script does feel a bit kind of half-baked. It's just, he's just nuts. And it's, okay, all right, fine.
Too small.
that's the Power Rangers thing. It's like, well, you know where that is. If you know it, like you don't have to go through all your guns to figure out that they're too small. You know what's in there. Just take the big one off.
I mean, we can't even assume your wife packed your gun car because you don't seem to have one. So like, it's sandwiches and it's ordnance.
One of those like tin lunchbox things with the flip-up lid.
You packed the wrong guns again, Marjorie.
Marjorie, definitely Marjorie. Look, he's doing the kind of Ace Ventura.
Yeah. Alrighty then.
It's such a hard act to follow. I think that's the problem because again, I don't really like this film, but I will defend what's defensible. Like I'm not because I don't hate it. Like it's such a hard act to follow. Oh. Fucking the guy who plays Chico's in Robocop 2 as well, doing the exact same thing. Remember when they raid the gun shop at the beginning? It's pretty much the same part.
Yeah,
it's I can't remember what my point was. I got distracted by Robocop 2. I'm also distracted by my point about the laser point having like a D battery in it. The one on Maria Conchita Alonso's got like a 9mm. It's got this huge shoebox of a thing.
Didn't they develop? I'm sure they developed Glock or someone developed one that sat in there. You know, because you know when you've got the top slide and you've obviously got the barrel. And then under that you've usually got that extra. Whatever it is, the kind of rail that the top slide sits in, and they managed to literally drill into that and add a laser pointer in that, so it was so kind of integrated into the gun.
Right? Yeah. Okay. That's the kind of thing. Yeah, I think I've seen that. I wouldn't know to.
This is the look. He goes, "Hey, asshole!" Before shooting them, it's like, don't tell them you're there. Like you just got the drop on them.
Knock knock.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's true. I suppose that's his version of stick around. Or whatever. Knock, knock.
Knock, knock. I mean, it is kind of like... I tell you what it is with this film. This film makes me feel sweaty. Like
it's meant to.
Yeah, I know it's meant to, but I don't like it. It's to me, it's like eating 5 kilograms of unseasoned tofu in a broken sauna. that's turned all the way up. It's just this sweaty, turgid kind of. I don't know.
It's meant to be though. It's meant to. I mean, I know it's like there's a heat wave and a crime wave and a this, that, and the other. I mean, it's not too dissimilar to how the general feel of things at the moment, is it? It's that sort of just chaos. Everything's gone chaos. Like everything's gone to shit. And look at that fucking look. It's like
he does enjoy his cocaine, doesn't he?
He does.
Colombian style
Ready.
cocaine. Scorpio's ready.
It's are you ready for the hubris? L Scorpio. So-called Scorpio. I love the way that it just explodes. Like the whole
L
room
stands
just
for
explodes.
Lionel Scorpio.
Scorpio. Beware of his web of Scorpio.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Scorpio.
I'd watch Hank Scorpio versus Predator.
Yeah.
Anytime. Anybody. Yeah, it's it's such a sweaty film. Such a sweaty. And he's got Desert Eagle, isn't he? Because they loved putting this horribly impractical gun that no one actually uses for police work in every cop's hand in the films of this era.
I mean, because it does come in different
you get a 357, yeah.
But still, it's so unwieldy.
Well, because there's such thing as standard issue, and American films love this kind of bring your own gun to work day thing, where people just carry all these. Oh, well, I've got like the gun car, but it is in the dystopian future of 1997, I suppose.
True, it's true. But yes, this guy, comes. See, I love the staging of all this. Like the guy comes flying out the door. That's so good with his dual wielding his Uzis, and it just turns around and starts like going nuts. And it's got that very dystopian, like it's almost got a sort of 2000 AD, cheap life is cheap type thing about it.
Sure, life in the big city, right? Like
yeah. And that's it. And I think there's a sort of subtextual point there slightly about like humans not valuing human life that much, and therefore, what are they really, what is the predator really like? What is he doing that's so bad? Kind of thing. If they're all just going around shooting each other,
it's kind of. I think when he crosses the line, because when he kills Ruben Blades' character, I think that's when he crosses the line, right? Because he kills a cop, and it's all kind of it's about that. Because does he get him with the net? Is that Ruben Blades with the net, or does he just get fish hooked or something?
I don't think you actually see how he gets killed because he just gets dragged up into the rafters, doesn't he? And then that's it. I forget.
El Scorpio, when he sees Predator, he does a really weird stance where he sort of, I don't know if he's got like a harness on him or something to fall off the building, but he does this kind of weird shrug thing.
He's like, I don't care.
El Scorpio was not that ready. And if he landed on a trampoline and was like, El Scorpio was ready, and run off.
You like bounced back up to the level of the top of the building. El Scorpio was ready.
Oh, he landed on the craft services table.
Yeah, he landed on the catering.
I'm so glad someone catered this gunfight. That's pure entrepreneurship right there.
Well, an army marches on their feet. I mean, on their stomach. Yeah.
Yes, of course, it's a vegan option. See, I hate this carries over Predator 1. Its dreadlocks are invisible.
Yeah,
it's masked, but the dreadlocks are. It's just sort of like he puts it in a ponytail when he's masked, so it won't work.
Which is weird because in Predator 1, like they're at Predator 1 for that's his name. Yes. When it comes out of the water, like the dreadlocks are all there. It seems like anytime it decloaks, you can see the dreadlocks, even in the cloak.
I'm guessing it's one of those because it's like the absolute ball ache of covering everything in red, because I think they use red to key rather than green in the first one, and I don't know what because they're in a of course it because it's a green jungle. Put him in a green suit and then take all the green out. What in Colombia or whatever?
But it's like Superman being on a blue screen, wasn't it? That was.
There you go. There's the thing. That's loss issue. Oh, big sweaty back. I mean, do you know what? Imagine if Lee Evans was in this.
Oh God,
it'd be just like this goppingly wet sort of.
I'm bringing sweaty back.
Sweaty back. Maria Conchita Alonso. I can only ever say her name in the style of the Running Man trailer. Maria Conchita Alonso. Alonso. Welcome to the Alonso cast.
That's it. Maria Conchita Alonso. She's fantastic. Where's me pie, pal?
Look at that bloody, again, the sight on that gun is just insane.
Yeah, it does to the point where it looks like it would actually cause problems. Like in terms
Yeah,
of
it's going to unbalance the gun, right? You might as well just hang a brick off it with a bit of string. I'm playing on hard mode.
But it's all right because I've got a laser. Again, was that really like? I don't think because it never laser sights never really got the uptake that you would assume they would if they made guns that much more accurate.
Yeah, this movie really bought that ticket, didn't it? Like it's like, everyone will have laser sights. Yeah, I know what you mean. Like if they were that, because I've used them on like BB guns and stuff. I have fired real weapons, but I've not, used one with a laser sight on it. There's talk of that. Did you ever read the Dark Horse Predator comics? I read a bit. I read Concrete Jungle that this was this was based on. But Concrete Jungle's about Schaefer's brother, isn't it? It's about Dutch's brother.
Alan's brother.
Alan, I love that he's called Alan. Yeah, that was quite neat. Like I didn't get beyond that, and I read the novelization of that. I've got Judge Dredd Predator on the shelf here somewhere.
I just noticed something. Sorry, just keep looking. But that bit when Danny's looking up the wall, there's like holes in the wall that are like this, like placed like hand claw marks in the wall. And then when he looks up, I didn't realize you saw the Predator sort of quickly run at the top. I'd never noticed that before.
Bit of bush, too late.
Why did he strip them naked as well? Like he's like.
He put him up there.
Oh no, that guy was naked anyway. He loves to riot nude.
It's all that coked cane.
All that coked cane, that Colombian style coked cane. Hashtag L Skellington. L Skellington is ready. Yeah, I kind of see. I'm all about. This is all fine. The like, times of conflict, times of war, extreme heat. Then it's like Alien versus Predator. It's in a cold pyramid. What?
See, I've said this before. He's like face down in guacamole.
Look at that. He ruined the lovely craft table. Oh, there's Darby.
Yeah.
He looks quite
Krona.
Because I know he's very pockmarked, but like from about 3 meter distance, he looked quite young, and then he came into focus. And it's like that's right, Darby,
it's a bit like Tommy Lee Jones. Yeah,
yeah, or the Bill Murray thing.
Yes,
I think Tommy Lee Jones in sort of 4K resolution must be a terrifying experience. It's like a relief map of Mars. Someone's mentioned there's a hardback of Judge Dredd versus Predator versus Aliens, which I'm not a huge fan of. That's well, there's one where they just compiled Judge Dredd and Aliens and Judge Dredd and Predator into one book, but there was an American series written by the guy who writes Chew, so not a 2000 AD affiliated thing, and it just wasn't very good, and it was very kind of like, I will uphold the law, and it's like, yeah, that's Judge Dredd in 1979, not really now. And it was just like, there, Judge Dredd fights predators and aliens, and he wins. Let's see.
Well, naturally, I suppose it's Gary Busey.
Gary
Busey.
Gary Busey. See, they did that. They put like putting his son as his son in the Predator was kind of like, oh, continuity, but they did nothing with it, and it's
that was such a load of bollocks.
It feels like maybe because that feels like because the Predator was so messed with. I mean, I don't know what the original thing was like, but it was clearly so messed with. I don't know if they had plans to do something more with Jake Busey. I've always heard, and again, I didn't do any research because I don't like this film. But I've always heard that the part of Keys was larger and was supposed to be Dutch, and then when Schwarzenegger wouldn't come on, they retooled it and had him killed and stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think so. Yeah, I mean, because there was the Rodriguez script, which I think was Rodriguez' script always for a third film, or was it for this and then got turned into the third film?
I think it was always a third film because it was supposed to be Danny Glover and so like that became Predators, but like he wrote that in the, because I remember hearing about that in school and I was always like, that's Billy bullshit, and it turns out it actually wasn't. Just I think the chances of it getting made were probably less likely, but
right, yeah, because that's but I think again, like you say, Concrete Jungle. I mean, it's sort of, I don't think there's an awful lot from Concrete Jungle in this. I don't have all of the Concrete Jungle issues. I've only got a few.
Man, it's in a city. I mean, it really is. As I remember, there's not a lot, and there's the video game Concrete Jungle, which sucks dick.
Yeah. I've got that, I think, somewhere. Yeah. It's a police procedural with a Predator sort of thrown into it in a sense. I mean, that for me, I mean, if you'd asked me, I would have probably hedged my bets that this was a retooled script or something else. I don't think it is, but I mean, it feels that way. It feels like it's sort of it's something that. But then that's kind of what a Predator has to be, doesn't it? It always has to be that it's dropped into a situation. It can't really be That's what I mean. Like when you try and make a Predator film that's just about predators, it just doesn't work. Like Predators.
Yes. Well, you're wrong. but so the thing, my defense of Predators is that because you're not merely solving the mystery of the first film, you're finding out where they are, what's going on, and it does some business of expanding the universe a bit. And I just like its kind of dynamic. I mean, because this makes a point of really going in and set. Because I think the other hard thing to follow is like Predator 1, which is its proper name, had such a strong ensemble. So this has to come out with an ensemble as well. So you've got, and it's good, you've got Danny Glover, Ruben Blades, Maria Conchita Alonso, and Bill Paxton. Right, that's a great little team right there. I don't know, and it doesn't quite click. I don't know. But as we talked about before, like I'm not sure. I think there's only so much you can get out of Predator, really. Be that we both think two decent films, but we just disagree which ones.
Yeah, I mean, I just, for me, I think if you're going to do a sequel to Predator, this does. I think it's the right balance of like, I understand why they felt they need to retread certain ground with it, and that's why inherently you've got that problem of we know more than our protagonist for a lot of it, and I get that is a problem. But it's not one that I think the film was ever going to overcome, because what on earth were you going to do? And I think like I've said this about everything else, like Aliens, Terminator, take your pick. Every time you try and go like, oh, we're going to explore the Yautja Prime back, it's like, God, it's just so tedious. It is just people making up shit in their bedrooms. It's never like edifying. It's never interesting. You don't need to know. The whole point, one of the reasons why the alien works in Predator 1 is that we don't know enough about it. We know it has some rules, and we know that our hero has to, beat it at its own game. And that's all you need. And it's like, and pretty much that's what you get here. They go like, they expand the lore. It's like, well, not really. You get more weapons, and that they go around in clans, kind of.
Yeah, it was sort of like, well, now we know that some of them have different hats. It's like, cause the thing with like the disc and the net, they're cool. Yeah. They make sense, but it's like, that's not really a kind of deep cut into the world of the Predator. It's just like, it throws more than 3 things. Now it throws 5 things, or whatever. You know what? Like, it's not a fucking. I mean, look at him. He looks fucking tonk in this, man. Yeah. It's not a task I would like. I wouldn't want to follow up Predator, and it's written by Jim and John Thomas. Jim and John Thomas returned to write this. And I do kind of think, I wonder, like, Predator. I think Predator is. It's an odd one, because then Jim and John Thomas are not the most storied screenwriters, and they didn't do a lot. They did like Mission to Mars and a couple of other things, like a handful of things. And Predator, was pretty much a dead-on cert to fail, really. Like that, Jean-Claude Van Damme walked out. They halted shooting halfway through. There were loads of problems, and it kind of came out in spite of itself. And I think perhaps not necessarily because it was an amazingly strong script. I just think it was perhaps a combination of the script and the director and the cast. So then trying to sort of remount that, and fair play to them, I'll give them all the credit in the world for going like, right, it's going to be in the city, because you could so easily just do like it's in the jungle again. You've got to remount the thing without your star. I don't envy him.
No, and I think that's what I mean. I think given the brief, I think they do an astounding job. What's going on? Oh God, it's pissing down outside. Sorry, I've just realised it's utterly shitting it down now.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, we've just seeded the lawn. It isn't here though yet. For we are quite a bit apart, aren't we, in terms of mileage?
Sorry, everyone. That's
it's update. Weather update.
Weather chats. Quite the opposite of this film. See, I think they do a really good job of making like Bill Paxton. Bill Paxton is Bill Paxton, obviously, and he's very likable. He's playing a cocky twat, and he's still likable, even though you hate him. He's very good at giving you that underlying thing, because obviously, spoilers, he ends up dead, and it's like you kind of get why you don't want him to die, and it's like, and Maria Conchita Alonso, they have a great rapport. It's really nice. Like I just think it's a good ensemble. It's not the same as the first one. I wouldn't say it's better or worse. I just think it's just not the same, because it's not. That's about macho dick measuring, really, and this is about something else. This is like cops in a precinct. It's something else. Well, they've got a job,
That's why I don't want to come down too hard on it, because it is trying to do something different.
Yeah.
My problem is just, like I've said many times, it's the narrative through line. I just think the end point is like, well, we haven't learned anything or we haven't gained anything new from this apart from the Predator has some more toys. But it should be about the journey. Again, I don't envy them, but yeah, they've said it in the city. They've got a different dynamic in the cast. And they are all very like. Reuben Blades gets the shortest of short shrifts in this because he just dies almost like in the first act, I guess. But they all have like a big personalities and distinctive looks.
Here's the most vigorous sex I think I've ever seen committed to film.
She is furious.
She's probably on cocaine. She doesn't even hear them come in the door as well. Like there's a massive.
They left
delay.
their massive penthouse door unlocked. They're big crazy. Right. They live in like the spaceship from The Fifth Element.
This is another thing that sort of doesn't really get talked about, and it does kind of get brushed under the carpet. But the kind of warring gang factions, the Colombians, the Jamaicans, that's again, it's the backdrop, isn't it? It's the conflict. It's what the Predator's drawn to. I suppose one could argue this is slightly small scale in that where the Predator chooses to go is a penthouse where, a Colombian drug boss is getting murdered by a
bunch of yardies.
But yeah, but when it's like, well. I suppose it would choose to do that because it's followed them there and it's choosing to pick off the strongest one. So I guess that makes sense.
Dijon Cobber Music says, I shag like that. Good on you for going on top. It's a weird move.
Yeah. You must have to bend it.
It's hooked. It hooks down like this. Sean Needham gave £2. She's like a fish out of water. She is. Yeah, she is. Yeah. Professional more and merely Holler's feculence, which I like. Flaccid member.
Very good.
Yeah, it's very good. I don't know, like, because again, it's sort of drawn to conflict. I'm just to get the boot in further. I'm not mad about I don't like the City Hunters design.
No, I like it. I don't think it's as good as the first one, but I don't mind it. I think it's alright.
I find it a bit try-hardy. It's too kind of like, let's make him look even better, and it's like, I kind of prefer the stealthy sort of look. It's still of a muchness because like the Predators at the end look cool. And Grandad Predator with his pirate gun. Yes, I saw one of the helmets from the clan at the end in Planet Hollywood once. That I remember. Are they enormous? Are they huge?
Yeah, pretty big. Yeah, I remember seeing this. The version I had of it was taped off the TV, so there was so much of this cut out, like when he sticks the knife in the guy.
Bit of bush too. So I've done that twice.
Wasn't too late. I saw it.
I saw it.
Which was left in. This speaks to the UK sensibility. So the guy getting stabbed with a knife was cut out, but the bush was left in.
Well, that's the thing is, like, I've said it, like, in America, I've watched films in the daytime, like AMC or whatever, and all the guns and stuff are in, but the boobies and swearing are cut out. Whereas in this country, you're more likely to get the boobies and swearing left in, and the blood and guts cut out. Well, it's changed a lot now. I think very little gets cut these days compared to the old days.
This bit coming up, there's a great shot. When he sticks the blades into his stomach, and you just see them go through the guy's stomach. Look here, coming up. Here, look.
Oh no!
Look at that! Oh,
I really like the net effect. That's so cool when it sort of like bleeds through. I
think it's great, man. I love all this stuff. I think it's
the action's really well covered, like, and there's loads of great stunts. Do you know what? I kind of, whenever I think of this film, it's like what I said earlier. I kind of view it as a chore. I find it kind of turgid. I'm just sort of like, I've got to watch Predator 2. Like,
I love watching Predator. So that is a good day for me when someone says, "Here, watch Predator 2, or I'll kill your family."
That's quite a lot in Peterborough. A surprising amount. Daniel Hawkins gives £2 and says, "Cheers for keeping me laughing during lockdown." It's our pleasure, Daniel, to keep you laughing through lockdown.
That's where the commercials were. I remember that bit when he goes, and then commercials. Anyway, sorry. You're very, very welcome, Daniel. Yes, and thank you so much for sending us tuppence.
IMDb fun fact: Steven Seagal was considered for the lead. That would have sort of been amazing for all of the wrong reasons.
I'm gonna take you to the bank, Mr. Predator, the blood bank.
Mr. HEC, are you high? A shitload gets cut out for TV. I wasn't talking about TV. I was talking about the BBFC. That's not the same thing.
Ah, yes.
Yeah. Even for she gets cut on TV, but like not in movies as much. And mate, if you think things get cut on TV now, you fucking dude, in the 90s, like, Jesus Christ, go watch the Robocop TV cut. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Like,
it's true.
Rack bottom.
Back radom.
It's fucking those. What is that shirt? I suppose if you're going to do the fashions, we'll be here all day, won't we?
He wears a particularly egregious double-breasted suit though.
Egregious double-breasted suit.
It's just an offence to all senses. It just looks awful. And I imagine it smells.
Yeah. So, do you know what? This film reminds me of wearing a 3-piece suit at a wedding all day in July. That's that's what,
Well, I did that in June, and it was pretty hot.
Yeah.
Gosh, which reminds me, it's coming up on my wedding anniversary. I must remember that.
Doug Wanacott, question for Richard: if Predator 2 had been the first one, do you think you would have liked it more?
Ah, yeah.
Because then at least there's a mystery. Well, there's a mystery there. Maybe
answer me that one, Richard. Yeah, in this hypothetical world.
Yeah, maybe, but Duncan, it isn't. and that's you. That's you. I'd love to have seen, like, because I would love to have seen Steven Seagal shoehorn in loads of kind of like meditation and environmental issues and stuff. that would have been great.
Aikidoing the Predator.
He'd wrist lock the Predator.
So he cut his heart out. I didn't actually see him do that. But whatever. Yeah, this business of stringing up victims and stuff like that, it sort of worked in the jungle where it was kind of like, I guess it did that so it could come back and collect them later on. But the way it does it here, it's like, why? Like, does it just take one, go do its skull thing, come back, get the rest?
It's very inconsistent, isn't it? It's very inconsistent. Its approach is inconsistent.
Yeah. I don't know why it skinned some of them as well, like for a pelt. So it could trade it.
I Am Snorlax says if The World's End came out first, it would have got more praise. I do agree with that, actually. Because I do think The World's End was, like, in terms of its filmmaking, it's better than most things, particularly things that came out that year. But it came off the back of two things that are better than it, and it just kind of, I think context is king in these things, I think. Doug Wanacott claims that Die Hard was dubbed on TV with Yippee-Ki-Yay Dirty Pooer.
Dirty shit. Fair.
Oh, yeah.
Dirty.
Yeah.
Predator's arrived.
Oh yeah. Someone was saying,
Jungle Hunt's arrived.
Digital comment. I wish those cuts were still available. Like that, referring, I assume, to the heavily cut TV. I think some DVDs bundle now old wonky cuts for comedy value. I'm sure there's somewhere you can watch excerpts from the TV cut of Robocop. I think that might be on the Arrow Blu-ray, which I haven't quite explored all of yet.
It's got to be on YouTube, isn't it? People have to put that on there.
Yeah, I regret I taped it off TV and then watched it and was like, because I'd already seen proper Robocop and I was like, what the fuck is this? And I taped over it in anger because I was, I don't know, 12 or something. and I wish I hadn't, because it's this insane artifact of a deranged time. But then speaking of the airline cuts and TV cuts, have you seen the kind of airline cut versions of? They used to put them on the Cornetto trilogy extras, because apparently it's something that Nick Frost really didn't like doing, so he did it sort of under duress. But there's loads of like me and my mates used to say that stuff all the time, because there's tons and tons and tons of swearing in Shaun of the Dead, and they had to do loads of kind of like weird alternate takes saying funster and whatever over and over again.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't know.
Yeah, TV version of Die Hard, says Steve Allen, Yippee-Ki-Yay Melon Farmer. I think it was Repo Man was the first film to use Melon Farmer, because I think Alex Cox was deeply annoyed at having to dub everything.
And it's like, why put it on at that time? I don't understand. It's the same thing. Like, I remember the thing I had of Batman for the longest time was obviously pre-Watershed, or half of it was pre-Watershed. They used to do that thing where they would show half of it, then have the bloody news in the middle, and then come back for the rest of it. So if you recorded it, you always had out-of-date news in the middle of your bloody battle.
Yeah, you hear about a regional truck accident.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that. Like,
and it's like, it had things like Eckhart saying, "I think you're full of drink, Knox." Like,
full of drink.
Full of drink. It's like, what?
I love the man that in RoboCop, when Dick Jones and Miguel Ferrer, Bob Morton having their kind of powwow in the toilet, he goes like, he's talking about his escalating insults for the old man. He's like, once I even called him airhead. Oh no, not airhead. Oh man, yeah. Imagine being the person going like, so we need to take this film where someone's penis is shot off and there's a shootout in a drug factory, and cut that for 3 PM, and it's just like, oh good.
Yeah, and also like we need to take the scene where the whole point of him saying, once we even called him asshole. It's like, the point of that is quite a mild thing to call someone. And that's what he's saying. It's like, we even said that, and it's like, yeah, but that's not that bad.
Yeah.
And to then dub that into something even more milquetoast,
and at least it transgresses, because that's the first on the list, I think, that's an actual proper swear, but it's it's still mild.
Yeah.
And then it kind of, because I think, what's he says, iron butt boner, and then asshole. But it's like Iron Butt Boner and Airhead. That sounds like a sort of 90s band.
So you would go. The needle was going that way, and then it flicked right back again. It's not really that bad.
Oh yeah, Dan Lars is referencing. Do you remember the Harry Hill? What is it? It's like the Harry Hill TV version. Not Harry Hill. Harry Enfield's TV version of Goodfellas. It's like, you fun my wife, fun you. You fun my wife.
Oh, no, I don't know.
Oh, it's great.
It's Steve Allen says about the Father Ted thing. Fuck off, you asshole.
You fuck off. I love that because the first time you watch that scene, it's just like, whoa, what? And then you realise like what's going on.
It does sound like he's saying like, that's our fucking spot. It's like, why are you talking like that? And he just points. There's a sign that says no, because it's the whistle theft, isn't it? The guy, the groundskeeper or whatever he is.
Damo Fitzgibbon and the
comes running out of his shed. He's like, pointing.
You fucking Baxted.
Yeah. I don't put you fucking fopping grasshole.
See, that's great. You see that kind of chiaroscuro lighting, and it did that sort of crazy sort of crane shot. This is a one take as well. Like,
yeah, because it's brilliant, Richard.
No, it's not. What it is, this is Stephen Hopkins. I think Stephen Hopkins learned everything he needed to make his masterpiece, which is Lost in Space. Don't roll your eyes at me. Don't roll your eyes at me. It's the best science fiction film made in the 20th century, Lost in Space. It's the best time travel film. It's the best Joey from Friends in a Spaceship film. It's the best William Hurt making friends with a CGI frog monkey film.
I like Stephen. I think Stephen Hopkins gets a lot of grief but when you think about it, it's like at this point, this was probably less derided than Alien 3. Like this, I think got an easier time of it. I mean, it's a bit. I
think so. Yeah, or Alien 3, because the thing is with Alien 3 as well, it's very easy to defend Alien 3 now because we have the work print cut, which I once famously called the work print cunt. And that, that's all well and good to go like, oh well, this exists, but the fact is, for the longest time, we had the awful theatrical cut. Yeah. So, and he was David Fincher was able to turn it around. I mean, because Stephen Hopkins, I kind of view as a sort of, he's kind of a journeyman to me, because I think like Elm Street 5, that Peter Sellers movie, and then he kind of went into telly, and because he did Second Unit and stuff, didn't he?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's how a lot of people kind of work their way up, or it certainly used to be, is you'd be a second unit director, and then come on. So I think he's I mean, but then I think he did some amazing TV, and he still does, by all accounts. I think he still works on a lot of television.
Yeah, well,
obviously 24, I'm a big fan of.
I was going to say, I'm talking, of course, to a big fan of 24. What was the deal with that 24 revival series, like Legacy? Did that was without Jack Bauer or something?
Yeah, it was, and I think it's sunk without a trace. I don't think they've renewed it. I don't even think it got through the first season. Someone will correct me if I'm wrong, but it just didn't. It just didn't work. It was like, I think you could do 24 without Jack Bauer, but you'd have to be bloody on the money. Like, you'd have to really, really reinvent it. And then it's like, well, what are you doing? You might as well just make a real time something else.
Here's my pitch for 24. It's in real time, obviously, but it's set in a spaceship with Joey from Friends. Caspi Ness, just in time to rescue myself and Duncan from more Lost in Space talk, gives £5. Thanks, Richard. Today I learned The Terminator is the worst Terminator film. Who knew a 1980s film full of horribly dated 1980s fashion? Referring, of course, to that Guardian article, which I think we'll talk about in the post-amble.
Let's do that. Yes.
We may read that out, because that was just
egregious.
Egregiously contrarian pap, isn't it? Right, what's going on? Oh yes,
Daddy boy. He's got one of those lights that you use for reading at night.
That's what I used to piss at festivals. That's my view of those headlamps. Just like,
look, that's a great stunt as well. Like that, I just think this is really well done, and you get that glimpse of the Predator.
Shit, mate.
Whatever.
Look at that. That gun's shit. That roof, that bit of necklace is shit. No, it is. It's all really well done, and it's very much in keeping with. Do you think? I think perhaps John McTiernan's approach was a big part of the formula.
Yeah.
I I kind of feel like perhaps Predator minus John McTiernan is the thing, because I would make a similar case for Die Hard minus John McTiernan, as we've discussed. Because when he comes back and does Die Hard 3, it's like, it's Die Hard.
I could go with that. I mean, it's missing. This is missing a. That's a good analogy. I mean, I would say if it just as Die Hard 2 is to Die Hard 1. There is that missing. There is that director's sort of mark missing. But then I do think, of a lot of things, Stephen Hopkins manages to put a stamp on this, still make it sort of part of it. I take all your points, absolutely. I think you're right, but I think just on its own terms, I really like it. I think it's fine. I just think it's always going to be hamstrung by virtue of what it is. But I think it has its own flavor. It has its own thing. I will say this: once you get towards the end, and the creature effects, whilst good, are by no means up to snuff. And I think also it's like what you were saying about like when you've got a different director, different DP, like that. The Predator in Predator, it's never looked that realistic since. It's weird because we've gotten better with it, better animatronics, better effects, and they've never managed to make it look that realistic.
I think one of the things that really sold the Jungle Hunter Predator is that you always see actual human eyes peeking out.
Yeah, and
there's a close up in this where it's some kind of a maquette or puppet or something where it's got kind of puppet eyes. And it's quite awful. It's kind of like those eyes really help sell that effect, I think.
I think in this, like obviously Kevin Peter Hall comes back for this, and I think he does have his eyes in it, but I think they put like contact lenses in or something.
There's a close up. I'm certain.
I know the one you mean.
Yeah, like for most shots, it's totally him. It's absolutely his eyes. Sorry, but there's one close up. Also, when they go, because he even says "pussy face," doesn't he later?
I know.
But when they
which was cut out the TV version.
Of course, it was fanny face. No way.
Shit happens.
Which is a moment later borrowed from Forrest Gump.
This is how loose the suits were, right? In the late 80s, early 90s. You could pin someone against the wall by them, and look, Gary Busey's hanging in it. Like he's hanging in a bloody sack, like a hammock. It looks awful. And he just goes like that, slaps his hands at him.
It's just like it can go and you could sort of just get a few brooms and turn that into a marquee. Of course, Adam Baldwin's in this, isn't he?
Indeed.
As Keyes' goon.
Yeah. A fresh-faced Adam Baldwin.
I've forgotten a few of the... Yeah, it's very fresh-faced, but I've forgotten a few of the ancillary cast for this, actually.
Look at that suit. That's the one I'm talking about. Look how... Now, that is a double-breasted suit with notch lapels. Completely wrong. And made of like, Hessian, apparently, because it's just sagging off his ass. Anyway.
I would like to make a joke about him going undercover in a sofa with that suit. But that is something that LL Cool J actually does in the film Toys, and I can't say that without acknowledging that, which is a great gag, where he comes out in that kind of floral camouflage. That's right, I've forgotten about that. Yeah. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah. No, it's it is what it is. I just think that guy was such an extra. That guy, the janitor-y whatever guy behind him, was like, oh, I'm walking on my mark. Yeah, I'm going from. Oh, have I hit my position yet? So you get that when people are just crossing in the background, and it's kind of like they're just
so much room in that suit. What's good?
I know.
Floyd 75 Dylan has just said, do you think McTiernan should have cut out the spaceship at the beginning to create extra mystery? Yeah, I kind of think they should have done, because it's like it has that Terminator 2 effect. Like up to a point, you could believe it's going in a certain direction, because up to a point, Predator is more or less a kind of man on a mission movie, and then it kind of switches gear.
Yeah, Dad, if you're still here, correct me if I'm wrong, but I always remembered whatever version of Predator we used to watch, I was sure that was missing off the start of it, the alien ship arriving, because you're right, I've always thought that if you just lost that, because I had always remembered it as this film that just took this crazy left turn at one point, and this alien up, and it's like, that just is better. I don't see why you need to have that right at the start. That sort of The Thing-esque shot of a... I mean, it's fine, but,
Well, I really like the start of this film with the jungle to the forest to the city. But this film could have the spaceship, because you know what's happening. Like, that would be...
Yeah.
And then you actually sort of get a good old look at the spaceship, the craft, don't you, at the end?
Yeah.
And get to go inside it.
It's not very coherent inside what any of that is.
No,
it's like they always have this problem with Predator. It's like they did it with AVP 2, Alien versus Predator Harder, where the guy is on his planet or whatever, and it's got things like, the trouble is, anytime you've got to show a thing it's got to interact with, it's like, well, why has it got lights? Why has it got buttons? Why has it got anything? Because all he can see is infrared. So wouldn't it be heat coming off stuff?
Yeah. Well, I never thought of that. Sure, yeah.
It's like they show like holograms coming up in front of it, which are all very space age and great. But
I do think, because when the Predator takes its mask off,
Yeah.
It's kind of like because it naturally sees biologically in infrared, I suppose. It's kind of like that seems like an evolutionary hindrance. Like, what's your planet like? Like, I mean,
this is what I mean. Why does it go to a hot place if that's what it's going to look? If everything is hot, you can't distinguish between.
It needs a mask to breathe, but it also kind of needs a mask to see. Because it's like, oh no, because when I have the mask on, I've got double infrared. Right? Fine.
Well, in this, it's got like different vision modes and stuff. But then, frustratingly, in this, when it takes its helmet off, you don't get that red vision. You still have the same vision as
Well,
it
so
had.
like, like when a moth flies in and tries to hit the lamp because it thinks it's the moon. I can imagine a predator trying to sneak up on a barbecue for 45 minutes because all it sees is like, a column of heat.
People's barbecues just exploding back. It's like, oh, thanks very much, Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin. Kevin, I still have. Oh, I should do that on Twitch. I need to finish The Adventures of Kevin, the work experience predator, which I started getting on for 2 years ago now. God, it's nearly our 2nd anniversary.
That's right. That's right. It is. Yeah, it's very.
Where we've claimed back the entirety of our former audience. That's not true.
That lady, that doctor. That's the scene I think you're probably talking about as well with regards to stuff we already know. It's like, yeah, when she's analysing the thing, it's like that. We don't need that. She's like, traces of cattle blood and an alloy I don't know. It's from another world. It's like
that's a cool. Then that's a cool fact. It's like, oh no, this has elements that are not on the periodic table. And it's like, okay, again, like I can't remember who said earlier, if this was the first movie, it'd be like, ooh, because it could be like a magic. It could be a highly technological ninja suit or something from a.
That's true.
You know, you don't know, and then it's like, no, it's from, and I'm like, I know, I watched the first one.
Yeah.
Oh,
you get a good shot of it here, like crouched on a. I like that shot.
Oh, there's also the lightning thing as well.
Yeah, that I've never understood. Like, stand. I love it if it was like, and then it just exploded, and then you got credits.
Oh, you know that thing in cartoons when someone shoots a bird and then like a cooked turkey lands. Yes. Just like, and then like a sort of roasted predator lands on the floor, or just a pair of smoky boots.
It's actually like a PSO, and Danny Glover comes up at the end and goes, "Don't stand out in the lightning
with your spear."
With your spear.
Remember, when you're taking your spear out to a tall building in the rain, don't wave it around. This is weirdly.
I had a chat with a young lad who was a chef in a pub I used to work at once, and he said that him and his mates did that. They stood on a hill holding umbrellas aloft to try and get struck by lightning, and his mate did, and it blew one of his toes off. So don't fuck it, and stopped his heart, and he had to be revived. Idiot.
Yeah.
So don't do that.
Yeah. Oh, so, we all just went around my mate's kitchen to put dicks in a blender and one of them got cut off. Yeah. Yeah, probably. Yeah. I'm not going to lecture those kids because I used to like blow up dog shit bins with French bangers and stuff. Like, I'm not going to pretend I'm better than. Yeah. I'm not going to pretend I'm better than that. But I never the thing is, I know that I can get to a safe distance. Deliberately getting struck with lightning is not the same thing at all.
Stupid. This shot, man. Look at how this is shot and framed. I think it looks great. It's very comic booky, but it looks great. I think. This
is the King Willy. The King Willy stuff is like the most famous thing, isn't it? I think someone always goes voodoo, black magic, like when you talk about this.
Which is not what King Willy says. That's what the other guy says. He goes, "Fucking voodoo magic, man." Not King Willy doesn't say that. King Willy says,
"There you go.
You can't see the eyes of the demon until him come calling."
I didn't remember what he said because this film's rubbish.
Throws chicken bones on a bin. He goes,
I don't know who he is, but I know where he is. The other side, man.
See, there's you listening at home. We've just had the whole scene enacted.
Yeah,
a dramatic reading.
It makes sense, man.
He's just eating a takeaway. That's
It's
chicken cottage. We've had a couple. I think Dan Lyles and Sam Montgomery have both said McTiernan didn't want the spaceship in Predator. It was something added by the studio, which sounds like classic Fox fuckery, doesn't it? That's I'm kind of known for.
But how will they know? It's like, well,
we must assume everyone's a cretin.
It's like you've got the biggest action star, and anyway. But yeah.
When I left my school, one of the 11-year-old smokers swallowed a magnet. That's great. I love it. I love that.
I love the way that's like one of the 11-year-old smokers, like that was a job or something that someone had there.
I'm gonna because in my school, in my primary school, in year 6, so 11 years old, there were a couple of kids who started smoking, like 3 of them, and they were all fucking dipshits. And so when he says 11-year-old smokers, I was like,
Yeah,
so
I know. I
one
get
of the
what you mean.
11-year-old smokers drank Tipex. It's like, yeah,
It's just like when you say the 11-year-old smokers, like you're talking about the supply teachers or something. It's like,
oh, right, okay.
There's the 11-year-old smokers. There's the geography department. Calvin Lockhart, my Bahamian
best friend and mates from real
friend.
life who know each other, despite being
we
dead.
do. All Bahamians know each other.
Yeah, it's true. They go to the meetings every year.
They do. We do. Lockhart's not a particularly Bahamian surname. I don't think.
It
He's
doesn't
got the
sound like it. No.
Pinder and Knowles and stuff like that. That's all very. But anyway, there you go. Bahamian chat.
Chat. That's a very, that's us accommodating a very small niche. It's the Bahamian chat.
Yeah.
175 people here this week, Duncan. This is a popular stream.
There you go.
There you go.
BBC Radio 2.
Ken Bruce's Predator 2.
Yeah.
Do black magic, Duncan.
Predator, Danny Glover, Beverly Craven with Woman to Woman. It's just all these like banal songs.
I love the niche. The whole doing Ken Bruce impressions over Predator 2 is the Venn diagram shrinks more, but I like that because it's like a laser beam. It's a more intensely focused thing.
Yeah.
I just need to apologise to Abstract Drums, who I probably just shamed because he's confessed being an 11-year-old smoker, and I was very disparaging to the 11-year-old smokers. So there you go.
I've just had really crazy deja vu. That's weird. I get that sometimes.
I must apologise to Abstract Drums because I referred to the 11-year-old smokers as dipshits. I didn't mean to shame him. I couldn't remember what exact words. I was trying to make you think you were having double deja vu, but I was mean. I tried my best to double deja vu, but it didn't work.
This is sort of Hellraiser-esque, all this sort of stuff, blood getting sucked up things. Now, what about this makes you think that he's stealing King Willie's DNA?
Because he needs better dreadlocks. Like, exactly, it's so fucking dumb, isn't it? It's so fucking dumb. Like, it's like that. Yeah, stealing DNA to make a better predator, right? Fine.
He's got a trophy room, but whatever.
yeah, exactly.
Why hasn't he got an alien face then, or like a fucking space jockey dick? Like, it's such bollocks. That's such a crowbar. That is such a coked cane fueled like pitch meeting, isn't it? That's like and then I got this. Oh, drop the mic, yo. Drop the mic. I know why they really stealing their spines, blah. It's like, shut up, you
I wonder
blithering idiot.
Presumably was a Black and Decker thing. Presumably. It's such a big part of the plot, it was presumably.
It's a random orbital sander.
Yes, it was Brandon Routh's drill. Deep cuts, yeah. There's people just going, no, we talk about. Caspi Ness just gave £5 and says, Duncan, could you please do King Willie's lines in Wogan's voice? Please do that. That sounds amazing.
I'm not very good at Wogan.
Yes, you are. No, your Wogan's great. I love your Wogan. Absolutely shit.
Hotel. No, I can't. I don't know. I'm not very good. You can't see the eyes of the demon. Let him come, Carlin.
I liked it.
Not really great, but it's all right. You can't see the eyes of the demon until him come calling. To him.
We've just had a PayPal from someone who's used their real name, but I know they post under their pseudonym, so I'm not going to read their real name because perhaps I don't want that. Mr. Flibble72, who posts a lot. Good to hear your shout out for Stephen Hopkins' seminal Lost in Space. See? Perhaps you could do a watch party for it. Yes, we can. We definitely will next week. I'm cancelling the vote. No democracy. Next week's watch party is Lost in Space twice. So what we'll do, we'll just watch Lost in Space twice because it's so good. Although we'd probably be the only two watching it. Doesn't matter. Duncan would be watching it, so there'd be three of us. So that's £10. £10. He's just bypassed the entire democratic process and we'll be watching Lost in Space. Actually, what I'll do, instead of watching Lost in Place twice, we'll just watch it at 50% speed so we can enjoy every brilliant frame of it.
You said Lost in Place.
That too.
You lost your place.
I lost my place in space. Cameron Dixon sent us $36 Australian dollars and 36 Australian cents.
Oh, cheers, mate. Sorry, that was a bit mocking.
Oh, big. Yes, sorry, we are known for our mocking Australia. Oh, here's the famous little boy scene. You want some candy?
Want some candy?
He should definitely. He should blow this kid's head off. Yes, sorry. Do you want to read it? Have you got it?
Yeah, I can do. All right. Viva Valverde, lads. Cameron from Australia here. From Australia.
Australia.
I've been listening to you guys since
He's
the
going to
days
take his money
All
back.
right, fine, sorry. I've been listening to you guys since the days of Mr. Black. I wanted to show my thanks and support for the great commentaries at watch along streams and episodes. Thank you, mate. Richard.
Barrel.
I'm too scared to play Resident Evil, so your playthroughs are a great way to enjoy the games. And Duncan, your insight into the acting world and impressions are fantastic. Thank you. Thanks again, guys. All the best for the watch along, and I wish the channel all the success, skeletons, and barrels it could hope for in the future. Cameron.
I love
Thank
how
you,
barrels become a thing because it's so deeply meaningless. But
bless
it's like
him,
little things.
My dad was like, "Have I missed something?" He was like, "Why is that?
No.
What is that?" And I was like, "Honestly, if I try and explain it to you, it's not gonna work. It's not funny, Dad." I was just trust me.
It's a very unlikely thing to have caught on, but I suppose because I don't like this. Sorry, you know when he looks around and he goes like, rah, rah, it's just like, calm down, everybody, calm down.
I would love to see that cut to a wide, and it's just Danny Glover going, like whipping around.
They pull the camera back, and it's just this huge man spinning round in a graveyard.
An eagle.
Yes. Has he left his enormous lagging-sized laser sight off? No, he hasn't. Dan Hawkins just gave another £2. Thank you very much, Dan Hawkins.
Yeah, it does look like a lightsaber stuck on the top of his...
It's so. I mean, at least the Desert Eagle is ridiculously huge anyway. So whereas Maria Conchita Alonso's got this pea shooter with a bit of PVC guttering hanging off the bottom of it.
Actually, well, the only time I think that a Desert Eagle kind of worked was in The Matrix. I think because the agents had them, didn't they? And it was like so obviously meant to be.
There are because sort of like Last Action Hero as well, because it's supposed to be ridiculous. And in Schwarzenegger's hand, it looks like a normal gun. Because I've probably talked about this before, but they intended to give Robocop the Desert Eagle, but in the Gauntlet it looked tiny, which is why they built a custom gun, and then they gave the Desert Eagle to Clarence instead. Clarence's one's weird as well because it's a weird shape and it's got like a little nozzle, so you could put on a silenced barrel. and the silenced barrel is Desert Eagle shaped in that kind of Toblerone shape. Yeah,
the only time I've seen that.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Otherwise, they're always kind of why you would carry a silenced Desert Eagle is anyone's guess. But,
yeah, I don't know.
Look at these. I love these Streets of Rage enemies because they're all
and they're dirty.
Well.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that they've just been like climbing up chimneys or something.
Look
they
at
were like moonlight as chimney sweeps.
This fucking like Ned Schneebly from bloody Groundhog Day.
And they've got like giant knives and everyone's armed, isn't it? That's the point. This is like obviously the gag they were itching to do, which is like the Predator only kills armed people, but they're all armed because cynicism. It's like the cops are like, no one move, and it's like, well,
when when you come out of Comic-Con and everyone's in cosplayers, it's just everyone's coming back from like an NRA thing. It's just this one. It's just this train. It's just this one train.
From my cold dead hands, here comes the Predator.
Predator.
Guns don't kill people. Alien hunters do.
Oh, this is a good thing. So here, there's the strobe effect, and I think it works well here.
Yeah. And
it's something they tried to do in that shootout scene in the Robocop remake, and they kind of bungle it. But it's supposed to be muzzle flashes, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whereas this kind of works because the Predator is unaffected by the normal spectrum of light. He's using double infrared, so it's new to him.
Yeah.
Difference. Oh yeah,
it does.
Maria Conchita Alonso is with child.
Yes. Rather sour. But yeah, no, it's. I think the atmosphere in this train carriage. But no, I think you're right. I love that effect. And it still doesn't. It doesn't sort of really lose its sense of geography because I think if you're going to do this anywhere, if you do it in a train carriage, there's only two directions of travel really. So and it's good. It's really well done. This is a scene that people often refer to as like the Predator kind of can take lots of shots, without he seems sort of impervious to bullets because everyone's firing at him, and it's like, does he get hit or not?
They're able to see it, and he's evading them,
and I guess so.
I did. These bits are covered well, and it's edited well. It's edited by the great Mark Goldblatt, very storied editor we talked about before. Who I've met, and it takes a lot to make a scene like that work when you're playing with lighting in that way. I think, and again that Robocop one, just like, I know that might sound like a good idea, but you need the chops to pull it off. And watching that scene, and that's kind of the scene where he apprehends his own murderer. He's not fucking dead. He's a baby jar. It's just really unexciting to watch. But anyway, we're not watching that film, are we? We're watching Battle. Hey, maybe next week we could do remakes next week. We could have like The Thing, and stuff like that. Maybe that's one.
That's a good idea. I like that.
Yeah, I'm full of good ideas. My good ideas, such as not watching Predator 2, but that one was ignored. Not really. This one's done really good numbers, and it's a fun one to talk about. So, like, whatever.
I'm still a big fan. I think this is a better film than I think we deserved. It's a better sequel than I think we deserved, and I don't mean that I think the first film is bad. I think they didn't really have any right to make a sequel to that in some ways. I think it was so well self-contained and didn't need a
this could
sequel.
Be so much worse as well.
Oh God, yeah. Well, as we found out with Predators, and the
you're wrong. I think really because like the AVP films are an odd one because they kind of are and aren't sequels because they're kind of sharing the party with somebody else, Whereas Predators and The Predator are straight up sequels.
Yeah,
so it's such a mixed bag. It's such a weird thing.
It is. The fact that we've got 4 films in this series as well now, it's just like, really? I never think of it like that. I'm just like, there's the first one, that's like here. And then you've got this one, which is a drop-off. And then in my view, you've got Predators, which is another drop-off. And then you have this freaking cliff. It just goes down to The Predator.
Yeah.
And it's just like, why bother?
And they again, it's whether you want to count the AVP movies as well, because they're trying to do a similar thing but failing. And I suppose really because I think the alien skull planted in this, because when you were 11 and the alien skull was in this, it was like, oh my God, and then they took them years to actually do it. I think that was really just there as a reference to the Dark Horse comics rather than any kind of indication of a grand plan, because they were both Fox properties. So
yes,
I mean, please, usefully for us, the if you do the kind of Tommy Westphal thing and put out the Valverde universe, if you accept Alien vs Predator, it does then mean all of the Alien and Prometheus films take place in the Valverde universe.
Yes, that's true. That's very true. I think it's one of those like 10 things you didn't know about Predator 2, and it's like, some Hat Plus production decided it might be a good idea to sneak an alien skull. And it's like, did you sneak? Really?
Dude, just got the art department to make a 4-foot-long skull that they snuck onto the set.
That probably cost a fortune. It's like, give me a fucking break. Like, I know, I hate all that.
Snuck it into a shot. No, they didn't. Someone went and asked the art department to make that, and then they had to reverse engineer what a Xenomorph skull would look like. That's what happened. It wasn't just like, I snuck it. No, they didn't. Shut up.
Also, the director had to okay it. Like, you don't understand what a film set is if that's what you think. So like, people don't just haphazardly turn up and film a thing. It's all very deliberately put there.
Yeah, it's. I would like to read. Petter Danielson has made an interesting point, and we may well end up doing remakes on the ballot next week on Patreon. If we do The Thing, and that would be contingent on the vote, I can translate the Norwegian parts. Well, that's interesting. So yeah,
there's no subtitles, is there?
No, and that's the joy. That's the joy of it, and that's also what the sequel, the prequel, kind of wrecks, because they do scenes where but it's sort of like, oh, they're all just hanging out speaking English, but not all of them, and it's like, you've made that less interesting. Well done.
As you have everything about this.
Yes. Someone mentioned the Dawn of the Dead remake. I'm a big fan. The Dawn and the Night of Living Dead remakes are really great. There are 2 Day of the Dead remakes, and they're both awful. But I've got a lot of time for those. There's a bunch of good remakes out there,
For sure. Dude, I'm loving this. I'm enjoying this. I don't think I've ever watched it properly in HD in the hood.
In the hood? I'm not sure that I have either. I had a DVD before.
I did once somewhere in another life when I did a commentary to it. That's right. I forgot.
Caspides gave £2 and says the Predator collects action skeletons.
That he does.
That he does. Sega Dan says the Thing remake prequel isn't super terrible. It's difficult. I mean, it would have been better if they'd left the practical effects in and stuff by Associated Dynamics, but it's not super terrible, but I don't like it.
It's one of those shit or get off the pot things where it's like, okay, you're doing the it's like, why call it The Thing when you're doing a prequel to The Thing? And you're doing, again, it's that over. It's like, we know the whole point of the Norwegian camp was that it was scary because you were like, oh my god, why you saw this aftermath of carnage, and it was foreboding for what the others were going to go through. It was a setup, it was a plot point, it wasn't a whole film in itself. It's like, you know what happened. But it's the same problem with this. It's like,
demystifying it makes it less exciting. It's just
exactly
sort of like, well, you know,
yeah,
exactly. One thing I found, you know, as I matured, is that I'm just happy to ignore things I don't like now. So
yeah, me
like,
too.
Well, fine. I mean, John Carpenter didn't sign off on it or whatever. Fine, doesn't exist. Don't watch it. You know.
Yeah.
Which is not. I in no way would do that to this film. I'd never write this. Not at all. It's perfectly fine. I think my thing is with this, I find the act of watching it a little bit testing and a bit boring. That's all. It's which you don't feel the same way, of course.
No, but bearing in mind, I consumed this as a grotty teenager who probably sort of fast forwarded through the boring bits and watched all the action stuff. You know, that's
the insane angry sex and then the bloody guts.
yeah, pretty much.
Because he takes the spine and the head as one piece, and it sort of comes out like a big inflatable banana.
I know, they always do that. Like, all he has to do is jam his hand into. I mean, that was in the first one as well. He just jams his hand in the back and rips the spine up, and it comes with the skull. It's like, that's not how that works.
They do it in the games as well. He just sort of grabs at the bottom like a handle and goes like. It should make that xylophone noise.
Yes.
As it comes off.
But that would not happen. But anyway, it's fine.
Oh yeah, Dan Lars just mentioned that. I don't know if you've seen the 88 version of the Blob, the remake of the Blob. That's a really great.
No.
There was a few like B movie sort of 50s B movie remakes that were really great. There's a Toby Hooper version of Invaders from Mars. There's a few. Yeah, there's a few.
Look here, punches him right in the camera.
Right in the front of the lens, and it knocked him out.
My lens.
Rock bottom. It's just so like it's one of those dumb things that exists entirely for the audience. It's like, not my lens, it's where my brain is.
See, I think this clips along quite quickly because now we're into the final. You know, this is the final chase and the final.
It's not particular. I've got to say because hey, maybe it's on me because it's only 1 hour 47. It's not terribly long. And I was sort of thinking to myself, because every time I do one of these, I have to do a runtime for the schedule. And I was kind of like, is this 2 hours? Because I wouldn't expect it to be any more than 2 hours. But it's like, is it 2 hours or 2 hours 5? And it's 1:47. So, you know, maybe it's on me. It's been a while since I sat and watched it uncommentary. You know, like not discussing it.
Right.
Because I never feel compelled to just sit and watch it. Yeah.
I do think the wheels do come off a little bit towards the end here when you see too much of the Predator. I think that's where it gets a bit, because it sort of almost fetishizes it to the point of like, you know, it's like, and then it takes its willy out and then it does a thing where it mends itself and we have to explain everything about it, and it's like, that's boring. It's not, you know, but it's fine. It's, you know, and then the old lady with the broom.
Yes, yeah.
It's quite funny.
So it's like, I don't think he gives a shit. Like the oh dear. Yeah, it's funny. I think it's got a bit of cake and eat it because you spend the first 2 acts solving a mystery you know the answer to, and then in the third act it's kind of like, here's a predator, here's what he looks like, here's his national insurance number.
Is he getting electrocuted?
He's getting electrocuted for some reason.
What building is that? Because I was always like, when I saw the cover when I was a kid and an idiot, I used to think that was the Empire State Building, which it clearly
that's
isn't.
exactly correct. But, man, when I was a kid, I had no idea what East and West Coast meant. When I was, you know, there's another country in it. I don't know. Actually, it must be a real thing because it's slapped around. I mean,
the Eastern
Building. Yeah, they've copyrighted that compass direction. And they monitor.
You can't ever go east anymore.
They monitor
without paying
all use of east.
The east.
What direction are you looking? Right. All right. Okay. Nice one. Good work. Does your compass have an E on it? I trademarked.
Yes, it stands for Easter. Give us £10.
Yeaster. Yes. It contains our word. Yeah. This also has, like, when the keys gets cut in half, I always imagine, because his legs drop and the top of his torso doesn't.
Just stays in.
And I always imagined that he just went really quickly and then
still alive. But that's the thing, isn't it? It's like all your budget. They've got so much budget for this. Like, so much of this film looks really great, and then that happens, which is so sort of stupid to me, because it's like, well, someone must have known that, like, if you chop a person in half from the waist, like, the top will fall down as well. Like,
Yes.
it's not, it's got nowhere to go.
Also subject to gravity, despite what you might have heard.
Gary Busey's so full of farts that his top half flew off.
Full of farts. Full of coked cane, mate. He fucking loved a bit of coked cane.
Have you seen the behind the scenes stuff with him where he's talking off his rocker?
Oh, he's I think so insane.
He'd not long had his accident or whatever, and he was just like, "Now, the predator, that is a species of," and he's just using words that he was just like pulling out.
But he still does that. Like, he's got this insane waffle, and he does this. He had these things called Buseyisms that are all like, if you read Buseyisms, it's kind of like, it will always be something kind of like, film energy is a light inside your soul, and as long as you've got a soul to put in front of the camera, someone can use the camera to capture your soul. It's like, what are you talking about? You're not even on drugs anymore. Like, what does this mean?
Yeah.
It's like, they're just, sorry, the red in here, they copied the colour scheme from inside the helicopter in the first Predator. Gives it that kind of Predator mood, you know?
Yeah.
A little bit Predator mood, you know?
Well spotted.
This doesn't have what this needed, like, because they got Little Richard's.
Yes.
Very famous in Predator, which has been copied in video games. Also, they needed a kind of featured song somewhere.
Yeah, I take your point on that, because actually, doing that in the first Predator film, it's not that song was current at the time, but it sets it in a time period, if that makes sense. Like, it's kind of got that Vietnam-y era.
Well, yeah, because it tells you about these guys, doesn't it? Like, they listen to rock and roll because they're of a certain age and they've had a certain experience, you know.
Whereas this is very much a fictional version of reality, you know what I mean? I mean, obviously I know the first film is fictional, but you know, it doesn't ground it in any particular time period. And I suppose you're right, yeah, to have a song like that people would recognize may have just been all it needed to kind of,
I mean, I don't know like how much they would have informed it, but I don't know, there's a certain energy to it, and perhaps because you can't, well, I suppose this was before Die Hard 3, but Hot Town Summer in the City is a bit on the nose, isn't it?
Yeah,
like, especially if the Predator's listening to it on a Walkman just before it comes to the city. Yeah, Gary Busey's just such a deeply mad fucker, bless him. Because I think he had a tumour removed from his brain as well. So like a car accident, a coke habit, and a brain tumour. He's just deeply mad. Because good old Jake Busey, man, he seems like really cool. He seems like a cool guy if you see Jake Busey's talking and stuff like he's very on the level, like old Jake. Whereas his dad is just we all have mad dads, but goddamn. Oh, Sega Dan says Bobby Brown should have done the Predator 2 song. Absolutely, give it that Ghostbusters 2 flavour that we all need. All about that. So I don't mind Ghostbusters 2. I think that's a similar. I think Predator 1 and 2 hold a similar thing to Ghostbusters 1 and 2.
One could argue we're watching it now.
Yes,
walking around with those backpacks on.
Yeah, I like the bit when the Titanic turns up with all the ghosts and the Predator has to kill it, or something. Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, sure, why not?
This also, obviously, this has connotations of aliens, because you know the people at command watching them go through you know what I mean, like they're watching their vital signs in their head. Yeah. Blue. Yeah.
So much blue, so much of that James Cameron blue. I don't know. I find it hard. Maybe perhaps I should just watch this as is again. I can't. I find it quite hard to pass exactly what's missing. My main thing is knowing the mystery. I've said that endlessly. But I don't know, because this is all cool. Like, and I like the idea of it coming to eat beef.
Yeah,
with its pussy face.
Well,
it makes more sense if it was eating pork. Sorry, it's a Willy joke.
Yes, no, I realise that. It makes sense. It's one of those things that, like, I don't think anyone was wondering that, but it's kind of like it's a good idea to have a kind of like it goes back to a place to hide out. I mean, its ship is for some reason at the bottom of an elevator shaft, but it goes there to hang out, I guess, or whatever.
Well, I like the idea. I think when it goes to hunt, it has to be out in the fields.
Yeah,
you know, not in a home base, and the idea of it kind of like eating raw beef again. I'm sort of like, yeah, okay, it's sort of like big chunks of raw meat. Yeah, I get that, adds up. I can see that. You know, it's called the Predator. It'd be better if it cut to him chasing live cows around in a field somewhere, just on foot. but you know, actually, because his face seems way flatter, the City Hunter.
It is, yeah. I mean, it's got much more of a kind of angled face, and it's
brassy, isn't it? It's kind of like a brass colour this time, sort of.
Yeah, kind of coppery. He looks like a copper kettle.
Copper, so yes, he does. Yeah. Yes.
I like it. I mean, I like it. I don't think I totally agree with you. It's not as good as the first one, but I like it. It's just a bit more plasticky. It's just a bit less tangible. And the first one, he has for some reason, he's got a white helmet, and this is like bronze.
Yeah, it's kind of like silver metallic, isn't it? Like it's.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. So this is a thing that it adds. It's the vision modes, which every video game designer ever watches this and goes, "Thank fuck," because you get that. Because there's like a xenomorph mode usually in
that's right.
in video games and stuff.
Well, it would stand to reason if it had a sort of filter in its mask. The weird thing about this
it goes on all
is
the planets and stuff. Sure, like I can see it.
But the weird thing in this film is that it sort of uses that as a thing here, but then later on when he takes the mask off, it's still got it. Like he's still got the filter on.
Yeah. Now that's the kind of goof in this, right? Because he still
doesn't go red.
It doesn't go red. So it's sort of like, well, that's just your eyes, mate. It's just your eyes, mate.
The other thing is when you see him take it off later on, it's like the eyes in the mask are like a mesh, and it's like, well, how is that giving him information?
Well, I kind of space mesh, or you know what I mean. I'm happy to accept it's nanobot mesh, or like whatever the fuck. I am Snorlax. That's how I'm cutting it. That's the way I like it. I am Snorlax says eating beef curtains with its beef curtains. There you go.
Naturally.
Just fanny jokes. I do like fanny jokes. I like the way this bit.
Babies what come out of fannies. You should all check it out.
It's on iPlayer. If you missed it, you catch up with every episode. I did quite like. I'm not mad about Judd Apatow. I've talked about before, but I did like the birth scene in Knocked Up because they intercut with real footage, and there's brief scenes of just a head coming out of a vagina. It's just like yo. Particularly for those of us who aren't parents.
Yeah, well.
So, you'll be. Yeah, please don't. It's just like, well, I'll just describe my wife's vagina. No, it's all right.
I'd be like,
I
love that Simpsons when he's described because he's talking about how was it Bart or Lisa was born or whatever, and he's like, why didn't you start at the beginning? And and you get all the like sperms going,
yes,
and then it cuts back to Homer telling the story, and he's literally doing like a sperm impression. She's like, Homer.
There's the one. Remember they do Homer's sperm count, and he's got like all those kind of like knackered little swimmers, and then Smithers like shows the other sperm sample, and it's his, and it's all little sperms with Smithers' faces.
Yeah. It's such an innocent way to do it, but I love it.
Yeah, because it's actually like, it raises questions about Smithers just treating himself to a wank for the purpose of science, which is sort of great.
So like all sperms have their head on them.
Yeah, it's cute, isn't it? Yeah. This would be 100% improved if Ripley exploded through the wall in an APC. That's great.
There's so much that goes on, doesn't it? It's like, and then at the end, Ripley, because that wasn't going to happen in the Predator.
TM2IC, I think, was joshing, of course.
No, I know, but I mean, but that
well,
is.
They filmed a thing. They filmed a thing where inside the coffin at the end of the Predator, it's Ripley wearing a robot facehugger. And it's like, what were you gonna do with that? Like, and that's sort of like the alien skull thing. Like they didn't use it, but someone designed a robot space hugger and a Ripley suit, and they hired a body double. It's like Sigourney Weaver's like 70, and what's the next film going to be? And how did she travel through time? Like, no.
I was going to say, isn't Alien set thousands of years in the future? Like, what are you doing? Yeah, it's bullshit.
It's just like what? Because I think one of the other versions was it was going to be Dutch, which also makes no sense. It's kind of like the Predator killer is just a man that won once. Okay. But then it's just a Predator suit for a man. It's an Iron Man Predator suit for a man.
That extendable, the sort of telescopic spear that he's got.
It's called a combi stick.
Sorry, the combi stick. It's like the only thing is that when it tucks up like it is there, it's massive because it's all got to fit into one thing.
Have you seen that? Have you seen one of those 1-to-1? I've seen props of them and stuff at Comic-Con. It's like a bit of guttering when it's all sort of inside. There's this huge, and it's kind of unclear where he puts it when he's not using it.
Up his bum.
Up his bum. There's a scene of him just.
they have cavernous ani.
Oh, well, on set, Kevin Peter Hall improvised putting the entire combi stick up his anus.
12 buckets of KY we used.
Normally used to lubricate the predator's skin to give a sheen effect, Kevin Peter Hall used it to put the combi stick up his anus. Kevin Peter Hall was selected for the role because he could really go invisible.
Go invisible.
Top 10 things you didn't know about Predator. I don't
Or
know.
no pet. Top 10 thing. I have to say they do a lot. They do a lot with it here. Actually, jumping around, like there's a lot more sort of agility to the Predator in this. Like, I know there is in the first one, but you see a lot more of it here, like it jumping off stuff. They do a lot with it, sort of stunt wise. It's pretty cool. Like I like all that.
Having just like dissed fan wanky trivia, Colin McLean has come through with the good point to address what I said earlier, so I'm going to read that. I thought the Predator's vision remained blue because he was in a cold environment in the slaughterhouse.
Yeah,
So
but you see him go out.
Yeah, because you see his vision but after he leaves and it's still the same.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, we'll keep an eye on that, but I'm pretty sure you see it when he's up on the roof, and it's like, well, that shouldn't be like that. But fair point. I do.
Yeah, no, I'd say that's a fair point.
Fair enough.
Yeah, the thing when he throws a disc, because doesn't like the meat
spark. You see it like hiding there. Look, he's going,
I'm gonna get you.
Gonna get you. He shoots him with like a flare there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, there's always
flare.
there's always that. You said it, not me. Nah. There's always a handy dandy bunch of boxes for people to fly into. Although it is a meat packing plant, so fair enough.
Yeah, true. Yeah, just when he throws a disc, doesn't the meat spark? Doesn't it do sparks?
Yeah, no, it makes like a kind of it has an effect because
okay.
They do this
like
with the disc
thing. Or?
Yeah, well, when the disc comes out, it has like a bunch of rotoscoped, like lighty, fancy electrical stuff coming off it, and it's like I don't know what
charged it or something. I suppose.
Yeah.
I like the shots when he tags the Predator a few times. It looks cool.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of high frame rate and.
Didn't they do that with like I think it's like condoms full of the blood with squid?
Yeah, that's the in relation to condoms. It sounds quite funny, but that's the Savini method. He would use condoms.
Look, his helmet comes off here.
That's like when the helmet rides up Dredd's nose in Dredd. Yeah, Kevin Peter Hall was so great in this role. The kind of physicality and stuff. He got it really well.
Yeah, and again, like that, I would give this film the props over the other lot for that reason alone, because at least you're getting the OG. I mean, I know it's not the original Predator, but you're getting
the original performer. Yeah,
and I think he tweaks it a bit. Like he does change it to be a different Predator. I don't think he just copies what he did in the first film. I think he does.
All because Van Damme had a big strop and fucked off to do Billy Bullshit the movie or whatever he did. I can't remember. I think it was Bloodsport. He stropped off for. That original Predator design was so deeply awful as well. That giant kind of insect thing. It was like, no, what the fuck is this? Absolutely not.
They say they put it in Predators as a sort of nod to it, but it doesn't really look like that. Do you know the one I mean?
The
running through the jungle.
Running through the jungle. Yeah, okay. It kind of does. But the reason they couldn't make it look exactly like that creature is because that creature was shit.
So, yeah, it was god awful. So of course,
if I was Harrigan, I'd probably just be shooting him right now. Like fuck that.
Yeah.
My sort of like, I like to think I've never been chased by a maniac, but my kind of approach on Jason Voorhees or whatever is like when they're on the floor, if you have any weapons or whatever, use them to destroy or sever its head.
Yeah, exactly. I love the way he's like, up until now he's been gunning down everyone around him, but it's like, I'm gonna take you alive. It's like, why?
Yeah. I've always liked how this Predator and the Jungle Hunter one, that is actually the visor is a visor. It's one piece. It just sort of looks like it isn't because it's it's kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I do like the helmet design in this. I think it could have been slightly differently finished, but look, my God, fucker. Is that the animatronic?
Yeah, because the eyelids moving.
The eyes are sort of half dead and baked.
Yeah.
Motherfucker, dude.
Oh, he just breaks his gun, doesn't he? That's his car gun. His wife's going to be furious. That's my car gun.
Yeah. Harrigan, because that's what she calls him. I packed your car for you this morning, and you ripped the door off, and you lost your shotgun. I'm going to whip your ass. Standing there with a rolling pin.
Oh, of course, and the hair up tied up, and sort of like the lady from Tom and Jerry cartoons. Yeah. So that they've made his face all kind of extra thorny and stuff, and it all feels like a bit of a hat on a hat to me. It's
it's that thing of whatever you like about your design or your outfit, take one thing away. Always take one thing away as like a just as a discipline. You should always take, and I think that's the problem here. It's slightly over designed. I think the head there's too many thorns and stuff sticking on it. It's like. But I get why they, it's that thing of like, oh no, we have to make this one distinct, and it's like, yeah, but you could have done that.
You definitely need to put your own mark on it. I think that's important. I think you probably could have substituted one of the Predators from the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Oh, look, those sparks come off. Look.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's metal meat. This is for these were robot cows.
They were Terminator cows. Yeah,
all the guts, but where's the rest of him?
Because the shot.
Oh no, it really hurts. Yeah, because they could have cut away. I tell you what, right? If they'd cut away, we'd still be taking the piss out of it. But at least we'd be saying, at least they cut away. The fact it lingers, it's just like,
that's one of those. I bet they weren't supposed to linger on it, but I think.
Well, I think the hook pushed his top half back onto a meat hook. It'd be great if he came back in The Predator with robot legs, played by 2018 even madder Gary Busey. That would have been amazing. The even more insane Busey.
Or Nick Parks, or what's his name? Darth Maul, whatever his name.
Ray Park.
Ray Park. Sorry.
But you did talk about Nick Park, the director of Wallace and Gromit. So if it was a plasticine Gary Busey. Sort of stop motion plaster just comped into every scene. It's like, what is this? What is this? What does this mean?
Cracking sea grommets. It's like, what?
Caspi Ness has given another £5. Thank you, Caspi. It's very generous today. Thank you. Legend has it that Gary Busey's top half is still hovering in that meat locker to this day. That pleases me. That's my favourite hashtag fan theory. It pleases me deeply.
To my birds.
I feel it in my plums.
He's just floating there because of all the cocaine.
It gives you wings, just like
it gives you wings.
Red Bull.
I love the idea of TV adverts for cocaine.
Yeah,
that's great. It gives you wings.
Bloody well nearly is, isn't it? I mean, I'm not really
like the way they Red Bull and Monster is just kind of like acceptable forms of crack. Seem to be kind of, it keeps you awake.
Daniel Hawkins says, have another donation from Birmingham lads.
Birmingham lads.
Birmingham. I'm a big fan of Baby's Water Come Out of Fanny's. Your wife and I watching every night. Last night, a baby came out of Fanny.
Came Royce out of Fanny.
And one time they were having so much trouble delivering the baby that they had to take it out her bum.
They diverted it out her bum. I always thought it come out the belly button, but I was wrong.
Wrong.
The nice man gave us money and we just mocked his city.
Sorry.
Which I love. I'm a big fan of England's second city as well. I go to Birmingham.
Yeah, it's a good time.
And I go to Birmingham a lot and I keep my mouth fucking shut. Is what I do. That's what I do.
Yeah, we had an alright time there doing Comic-Con.
Yeah, that was fun, man. It was
particularly
before Ollie got there. But anyway.
Yeah, there was a brief window of time where we found a nice pub and sat there.
I sat and drank in the sun, man.
It was good.
That was good fun. Yeah, no, I like Birmingham, man. That's always a treat to go there. I quite like my.
We went, sat in the sun, right? The next day, I think it was, or whenever it was, we went to leave. We were snowed in.
Oh yeah, that was insane. I remember coming out of the hotel the next day, just being like, "Fuck," and then driving to the con and stuff. Yeah, snow. Oh. God, I forgot about that. Because we straight up sat there in the sunshine having a good old chat and a few beers. Like it was, yeah. Anyway, you're not talking about the film. I know.
So Predators are such shit losers, aren't they? They always have to like
blow yourself up. Yeah, I love it. I do love that as well because it's the first time because Arnie like drops the log on it and the predator's like, hey, you did a kind of huntery thing. Harry just cuts the cunt's arm off and watches it fall. It's great. Oh, Sam Montgomery goes £5. Do you guys have a bad movie that you revisit often that would be for the performance subject or some good idea? I find these questions really hard, but there absolutely are sort of bad films that I feel compelled to watch from time to time, not in a bad good way. I had a weird fascination with rewatching Terminator Genesis because like this is awful, but for some reason at least once I just put it on and watched all of it. Just sort of like, what happened here? You know, there's weird.
Yeah, it's like some sort of forensic analysis of what the hell went wrong. I suppose there's the odd thing that I put on. There are some films that I feel like I get some pleasure out of watching, even though I know they're not great. Like I'm starting to reappraise Die Another Day now, and I do want to rewatch it properly because I do think there's some really great stuff in it.
Did you watch Mr. Sunday Movies thing about Die Another Day?
No,
they've done a Brosnan series, him and Nick Mason.
I watched some of them, just I haven't watched that one. Yeah,
yeah. They don't go into bat hugely for Die Another Day, but they're very keen to say, look, here are the positives. You know?
Yeah, because I think there are positives to be gleaned from it. I just think, it's not. Obviously, we know the problems with it, but I mean, it's like I think again, like it's like that podcast I was listening to that Omar put me on to. Shout out to Omar. The point was just like these are all things that on paper you should love if you're a Bond fan. It's like everyone goes fucking invisible car, and it's like, well, why is that acceptable? But an underwater Lotus is fine.
Oh yeah, and like a hover gondola, and
well, I don't think people like
space, and
but it's like, but everyone says how the Lotus that turns into a submarine is such a great thing, and it's like, do you know what I mean? And it's like, but then why isn't the invisible Aston Martin? And I think they're right. I don't think it is good. For some reason, I don't like it, but it's like, why? Because these are all things that on paper we should like. I suppose it was just in that era.
Is it a tonally jarring thing? Cause, I mean, I know, like, because GoldenEye is fairly straight, isn't it? And then they get... Because, like...
Tomorrow Never Dies is too.
It's quite straight, but it's still kind of techie. And then The World Is Not Enough, Let's Have Sex with Christmas. What's that called? The World's Not Enough.
Strange, The World Is Not Enough.
Yeah, okay, cool. I thought I was being sarcastic. Because that also seems quite... down to earth comparatively.
That one's where it starts to go a bit awry. I think it gets a bit silly, and then then Die Another Day goes full tilt.
Because Die Another Day is like full on Roger Moore. That's what Mr. Sunday, those guys were saying. It's like a full on Roger Moore thing with all the silly.
I mean, I think so. Yeah, I'd say it is. But then it's like, I suppose it's because you'd had your Brosnan doing his thing as a sort of more serious, and then it just suddenly turned into that, and in quite a small space of time. Anyway, that's James Bond.
This is great when he's sort of, this whole scene is sort of brilliant actually, when he sort of bursts out the wall.
Why didn't him smashing down the wall wake you up? Roaring in your bathroom seems like the least of your...
This is yet another thing that video games love, because now all the games have the thing where you use the blue thing to heal, and he screams when he does it and stuff.
Yeah. Cool. This bit as well, when he stabs himself in the belly with the thing, and then you see him from behind going like, raw, and he's got like all cables and stuff. It's weird. It's very weird. I mean, I get that we're supposed to be kind of...
Ow, it really hurts!
It's like they've really gone full tilt with the whole kind of Predators DIY, surgery
medicine,
or whatever.
Yeah. He's self-medicating.
With cocaine.
Cocaine. How the Predator couldn't snort cocaine? They'd have to dab it into their fanny mouth. So this is the thing. If you suddenly made a scene where the Predator has to like eat a kielbasa, you couldn't release it. It would just be this ridiculously obscene sort of like
full penetration. It wouldn't put it in and out again.
It would suck the skin off. I don't know. Like any predators eating phallic objects is just not allowed.
It is strongly bad. Look, she's got a broom. I love that. It just runs up to the wall and goes,
I'm slightly too tall for this.
And it's so angry. Like it just has this real anger about it.
There you go. The little room back
I'm
there.
a cup.
I don't think he gives a shit.
He's a shit. That looks like his wife. He's like, hey, you're my wife.
I think the Predator should have been about her. They should have brought her back.
She was the real Predator.
The real Predator was the friends we made along the way.
That's it.
Turns out Predator 2 was in our hearts all along.
And that's why I have to be Predator 2.
Right.
This doesn't also like this stuff. It's like there's a big hole at the bottom of this like elevator shaft that goes to the ship, and it's like, why is that there?
It doesn't make any sense. And then isn't the ship in like a building site or something? Where he goes down.
Well, yeah, because he goes like under, and there's this sort of like it's almost like catacombs that it's in under the city.
It does feel like after the Predator leaves the lady's flat, someone took 5 pages out of the script and lost them.
Yeah.
And then on the day it was like, okay, he could go down can we go down the lift shaft? And it's, look, man, we've got 5 days left. Let's just send them down the lift shaft. Because, the little fucking... It's like the fucking boat from the Goonies. Like, there's this massive underwater lagoon with a fucking pirate ship in it.
Just realised as well how lucky he got to fall squarely into that hole.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because it was a person-sized hole at the bottom. They could have easily just gone splat. Right.
Well,
next.
the unkillable monster went down this void. I think I'll go too. And just hedge my bets. Floyd Dillon, Predator 2 better than Last Action Hero? Absolutely not. I don't know what Duncan would say. You're kind of a Last Action Hero neophyte as well, aren't you? Really?
I enjoy it. Yes, yeah, and I do. I've really enjoyed sort of discovering that film. I obviously for me I have more history with this film, so I don't think they're not even in the same ballpark to me as far as I think in terms of their quality. I think Last Action Hero is a much smarter film.
They're very different beasts.
Yeah,
you know, and of course it's a John McTiernan thing. Dejon Coleman has just pointed out as the Venn diagram crosses in The World Is Not Enough. One of the villains is played by Goldie, the jungle and drum and bass progenitor Goldie.
He is indeed.
Yeah. So there you go. There you
go. That's it, Goldie. Fun. You know, we had a good time doing whatever.
My friend Ian is in Die Another Day as well. Actually, I brought up before. Name drop, whatever. Shut up, go away. Is your friend Ian in Die Another Day? I don't think so. So
that was the Guinness World Record for the highest number of Ians in a film. So statistically speaking,
I think Ian McGar's in it as well.
Ian McGar.
It was just a very Ian heavy film.
I'm not going to get into Ian's. I had a very long running joke about the name Ian with my friends for a very long time, which I'm just not going to go into that.
Okay.
That's an in joke too far. An in joke too far.
The other thing with that alien skull is when you really look at it, it's not that much like an alien. I mean, I know it is, but it's like it's
the Aliens one, isn't it? It's the kind of ridged.
Well, isn't that the one? That's what's in Alien, but it's just got the dome over it. Whereas, like in Aliens, they took the dome off.
But the dome is, I think, because the dome in Alien. God, what a conversation! The dome in Aliens has calloused because they're supposed to be older, so the actual dome is ridged. Whereas in Aliens, the dome's just smooth.
Yeah, but if you look under the dome,
I know what you're saying. Like underneath, it's that there as well.
Right. Yeah. I know. Yeah, I totally take your point. They are still very different designs. It's just.
I mean, for the fucking difference it makes.
Yeah.
But there you go, man. If we had if Aliens had one, we'd be here for another 5 hours. Which I do. I love Aliens, of course. I'm not a monster.
That was clearly a stunt wall he just fell into because it all rippled and bounced like rubber. That's what it's made of. I love the way, like as well. It's just a get out of jail free card to just cover the floor in dry ice.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you can hide a multitude of sins in that.
Yeah. It's one of these things because dry ice is normally used to hide things, but at the same time, they're supposed to have to exist in a humid environment. Yeah. So you could, but we all know what it means when there's dry ice in a movie. You
kind of see it's hiding its heat actually on the floor, like when he's under that.
What is actually hiding is wooden floorboards.
You just saw the Predator's vision there again, and he's not in the meat packing plant.
This Predator is a bit of a dipshit, isn't he? Because he just watched him walk off with the fucking. I mean,
not only though, like he was standing there holding it, he knew he had it, and he's just like, "I'm gonna be a bad." Oh shit! Yeah, I forgot about that.
I get that. It's kind of cool that Harrigan does it on his own terms. Well, obviously, so does Dutch, but Dutch uses kind of bit of canny, like he uses the traps.
Yeah.
Whereas like Harrigan just like kills it, but then it is an idiot because he just lets him hold.
That's one of those like our protagonist wins because he wins, like not because. You know what I mean? It's like
does he
Dutch gets lucky, but
does he doesn't behead it, does he?
No.
Oh, that's in Predators when he beheads the
Predator.
See, that's in Predators. Like the Super Predator, first it's a stupid name, secondly the designs are a bit too much, and the unmasked design for the Super Predator is horrible.
Oh God, there was audible laughing in the cinema when I saw that. I remember that, and my girlfriend at the time pissed herself laughing. Because I think she already thought it was utterly ridiculous.
Thought it was dumb to begin with. Yeah. That really does. I don't mind the exterior designs so much. The exterior designs. The unmasked one is unacceptable. It just looks like Freddy Krueger's cock. It's
terrible. And the Falconer one is probably my favourite one.
And I like the stuff with the bones and things are fixed. That's cool. And they use they use the classic Predator design quite nicely, I think. But yeah,
that so looks like something else coated on the end of that smart disc.
Oh no.
But then there were more predators, and they came out of nowhere. So Aragon had to run away like a fucking pussy.
No, he killed them all with his bare hands and his willy because he's so fucking hard. Let's take a couple of classic
about
predators.
with his cock.
It's his fucking cock. See, here's a you know, I'm generally not for prequels, but like that Elder Predator fighting pirates on an island in the 17th century, all right, fine. If it's like a 20-minute long, well-produced fan film, all right, neat, cool.
That's the mask I saw in thingy, the one that just walked towards camera.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I think that would actually. I think you're right. There's the original Jungle Hunter mask. I think you're right. I think that would make an interesting film because the only thing is we know the Predator would win that one.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the only.
Well, maybe because this is a thing. Maybe you could use that to develop a predator and actually make it actually have a character, because it can't quite be the protagonist because it doesn't speak. But you could do silent protagonist. It does work. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
and pirates were cunts. So a predator killing pirates is like, well, I'm all right with that. Like people romanticize pirates, but they were awful.
Do you know what? As well, that also makes a very good case for having a film that ends. You could start on the high seas and have it end up on an island, and because it's period, that wouldn't cost you much. You know what I mean? Because you're not in a urban environment. You're not going to see lots of characters, and you get back to the jungle environment, and it's just him versus. It becomes mano a mano, him versus that pirate. I think that writes itself, Rich. That's a good idea.
Oh, good, thanks. Well, there's that one, you know, that Crusades fan film with Predator.
Yes,
Predator
yeah.
Crusade. Like I haven't watched it beginning to end. I won't lie, but I've scrubbed through it, and it's really nicely put together and stuff. I found it couldn't really hold my interest despite not being that long, which I'm not very apt to admit, because that's a shitty thing to say, because someone's put a lot of work into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was cool. Like really good production value and stuff. And period set makes sense. Predator fighting Crusade, like Knights Templar or whatever. I get that.
That is clearly Danny Glover running out of a. And what is that? That is just a lighting rig going up in the background.
Combine harvester. It's like
that is just a lighting rig. That is really bad, actually. That effect was terrible because it was just like, weren't you supposed to comp that out? Because it's just a lighting thing going up.
If I was a monster promoting this film to support my narrative, my poster quote could just be terrible, Duncan Casey.
That
out of context because he used that word.
The effect was terrible. But that was not well put together. That looked unfinished to me. Because a bit as well when he runs out, like it's clearly a matte painting that the like exit to the ship is in, but it's like
he wakes up in a pile of cocaine.
But it was just literally like an open door he ran out of. That it was like, are you not going to close that? Like, because you're going to take off and go to space. Like you're all going to be killed.
They can breathe space because they're really hard. Because this is the thing, it really does sort of fall apart here. It's just like it goes down a lift shaft. There's a spaceship, and then he runs away from it taking off, and it's like, oh.
Where does it take off as well? Like, where's it gone? Down the sewer? Like,
it went up the lift shaft again, out top of the building.
That's what happens when you flush your baby predator down the toilet. That's it. That's a
IMDb trivia.
Dad and I had we had that joke the other day because Dad and I went for a socially distanced beer in the woods on his birthday on Tuesday, and in said woods is where we take the dog for a walk sometimes, and there's a clearing you come across where there are tons of what look like giant Christmas trees, and I made the joke to my wife that this is what happens when people flush this is where all the flushed away Christmas trees come or whatever. It was like, this is what happens when you flush your Christmas tree down the toilet, and she didn't understand, so I was kind of like, well, isn't that a thing? Like,
I'd have liked it. I know. You know.
I know. So it's my like common parlance that, like, I guess it was that New York thing where people flush baby alligators.
It's in the toilet. That's totally a thing.
Yeah. Anyway, but my dad got it, so there you go.
Oh, there you go then. There you go.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I would have too. Dan Lyles points out that Predator story with the pirate is a comic already. I should have known. I should have bloody known that. But it's been done. It's been done.
See, there's nothing new under the sun. Just give up, Rich. There's no point.
That's it. Simpsons did it. Colin McLean says, "How did the ship get under the city in the first place?" Well, yeah,
it's been there all this time.
Oh God, yeah, I've been waiting since before they built LA. They made it.
Like, why, when they were building that tunnel, were they not like, what is this?
This big carbuncle. Leave it. Put some flats on it. We're fine.
Because what is that under there as well? There's like broken cars and stuff like just lodged down that tunnel. It's like, what is that tunnel?
The sad thing now is that Danny Glover is addicted to cocaine from coming out of that pile, so he sells that antique gun to buy more. He's coated in cocaine.
Yeah, see, I'm not a big fan of that ending as well, because it's like the Predator gave him the gun and he's like, take it. And to my mind, that was almost like he's handing back a trophy that he's had for centuries or whatever to say, we're leaving, like, we're not coming back kind of thing. But then he says to Stephen Baldwin, like, don't worry, asshole, you'll get another chance, like a setup for a sequel. And you're like, right. But it doesn't seem to be what you're saying with the end of this film. Like, it seems to be that was...
I don't know what the numbers were on this. Presumably uninspiring enough for them not to pursue another. But there was a kind of time where sometimes things just wouldn't get made because there wasn't any will. It doesn't seem to happen as much anymore.
There was a lot of derision as well. Like, you hear Schwarzenegger talk about it, it's like, this is terrible. Like, it was awful. Like, I didn't do it. And because I think he turned this down and did Terminator 2 instead, which obviously was the better choice. But
clearly,
but then that doesn't show great wisdom on his part. It's like, I'm sorry, if you were offered the sequel to, if you read both those scripts, like an idiot would go clearly Terminator 2.
But yeah, of course. But he's got no business. He's the fucking Jingle All the Way guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Fucking
He did
round
that
the world
after.
in 80 days and fucking. You're like, come on, man.
Yeah, quite.
Well, there you go then. That's it. No more Predator 2.
The best, more better.
It's no Lost in Space.
Thank God.
Wrong.
No, right.
I want to put up the Trump wrong gif. wrong. Well, there you go. So we're into the. Well, we could discuss the credits if you really want, but we're into
Robert Davi.
Robert Davi. We're into our time now. We're into our time. We're going to have some fun for the next 45 minutes. So, I'm going to. It's now too cold to have my window open, so I'm going to venture and do that. If you can entertain everybody for a moment.
I'm keeping mine open because I'm well hard.
I'm wearing shorts and I'm a ponce.
Fair enough. So that was Predator 2. Predator 2. What did you guys think? Did you watch along? I'd be interested to know how many of you actually watched along with us for that. But there you go. Watch Edge of Tomorrow. It's a good film, and Bill Paxton's also in it. True that. And I was in it until they cut me out of it. But my friend Terrence Maynard is in it. He's the guy who wakes Tom Cruise up all the time. Very good film. I enjoyed it. In fact, I'd like to watch that again. In fact,
What's that?
Edge of Tomorrow.
Oh yeah, I like that. Yeah. Oh, poor old Bill Paxton.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they've been sort of trying to get another one of those off the ground for quite some time, haven't they?
The trouble is, once you've got Tom Cruise involved, it's like, well, you've got to wait for Tom, haven't you?
Yeah. I mean, I really, and the thing is with that as well. I know it's based on like an anime or a manga or something, but I do think it's a good one and done. I don't really see why. Steve Allen's asking, Duncan, have you ever listened to the Bond BBC stuff with Toby Stevens?
Bond? No, I haven't. I'm aware of it though.
Did he play Bond in?
He did. Yeah.
Oh, he's so double dip as a villain and as Bond then.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah. Pretty cool. I think he would have. There's an element of him that I think would have made quite a good Bond. I think if you did a period Bond film, which they were not going to do for reasons we've discussed, but I think if you did that, he'd probably be a good choice for it because he's got that kind of wispy. He's got the kind of what I would imagine Ian Fleming to have envisaged. He said Hoagie Carmichael was how he thought Bond would look, and there's an element of that there, So
as the outsider here, yeah, I totally get it, and that's kind of the thing in Die Another Day. He's kind of like presented as this sort of like anti-Bond sort of usurper, isn't he? And
well, because he's the Korean colonel or whatever.
Diamond
general.
Face.
No, that's Zhao. That's
is he not the same guy? The guy who gets a diamond face. He has white guy surgery and then becomes.
No, listen to what I'm telling you.
No, I don't want to.
Okay.
No, sorry, go on.
No. Toby Stevens isn't him. His Zhao is still Zhao. Zhao is halfway through. That's why he looks sort of like weird and albino-y because he's gone through. They kind of half gone through DNA replacement. But Toby Stevens is the completed white guy version of the Colonel or General Moon from the opening. Right. So he's So, but the idea is that he's modelled his fictional person that he's going to be on James Bond.
Okay.
Sort of arrogant swagger.
Yeah, because he kind of comes in and they're like giving him a knighthood and stuff, aren't they?
Which doesn't make any sense because James Bond was in prison for like a year and a bit. So this guy has become a giant like diamond millionaire.
Fucking crushing it, mate. Absolutely crushing it.
All inside of here.
James Newman has sent £5. He says, "You two are awesome. You're awesome, James.
Yeah.
You're more awesome than we are."
Let's not go now. Let's do.
People are asking what the scene that you were intended to be in Edge of Tomorrow. What scene was that?
Okay, so there was a scene in a war room with Brendan Gleeson and Jean-Marie Baptiste, and it was a discussion of. I'm trying to remember. I drilled my lines. Like I had 2 lines, and then Brendan Gleeson gave me one of his, and I went over them in my head because I had a night between rehearsal and shooting it. It was about having to capture one of the aliens alive, and my character was some sort of stuffy British naval whatever he was, who was saying like, you know, however many months of fighting, we still never captured one of the damn things alive. You know, because it was to do with that. They sort of touched on it, I think, in the film, but the idea was that like that device they've got, there's a device or something that like it's been so long since I watched it that if you could capture one and you had to be alive to capture its blood so that they could then use the time jumping technology. And there was a whole plot around all that, which all got lost. And Jean-Marie Baptiste is cut from the film as well. So I don't really know what her character was, but obviously she had a much bigger part. So there you go. That's all I know. I'm assuming I'm allowed to say that.
Lobby for the I think at the time it would have been a problem, but it probably isn't now.
Yeah.
Lobby for the release the Casey cut for the Blu-ray.
No, well.
Yeah.
That's not gonna happen there.
Yeah. Oh, well, there you go then. There you go. I'm not sure what Omar is saying. I think he's saying, would you want to be involved in a Bond audio drama? Is that what you're saying, Omar? He says, where are we? Do you want to try, Duncan? So I think he's referring to...
What?
Being that and then he says, I mean the audio dramas. I'm not sure what you mean, Omar.
Sorry, Omar. Let me try to go back and see if I find it. Omar, I've got... Oh, yes. Yeah, because Omar, I think you said you had those audio things. I'm assuming that's what you mean. Yeah. I'd like a job. That'd be wonderful.
Sure, why not?
As you mean, do audio Bond? Yeah, that'd be fun.
Ross Sanders asks, why no Predator 2 talk? He may have missed the last 2 hours. I'm not sure. Sean... Oh, yeah, I watched Kirk's here. Hey, Kirk. Did you ever watch the 1994 version of The Stand, the miniseries? Based on the Stephen King? Because there's a new one coming out, and I've just... Yeah,
no, so I think I did when I was very young, but I don't really remember it. But yeah, it's kind of...
Okay,
no,
it's got a big cast. It's got like Ed Harris and Rob Lowe and Gary Sinise and a bunch of people in it. I just watched the first part this week, so I was a little bit nostalgic for it. It's on YouTube. It's directed by Mick Garris. And I was a bit like, oh, because I knew I was watching pandemic shit, but also the last week being what it's been, there's loads of kind of police brutality and violence in it and the state turning on citizens and stuff like that, on top of the disease. And I was just like, ooh, this is real. Like, I enjoyed it, the first part, because I'm not going to watch the whole 6 hours. But yeah, it got very real there for quite a minute. And I was like,
we watched Contagion again the other day. And that was
dude, that's been trending on Netflix. Like,
prescient.
Yeah, I really like that movie. I watched it when it came out. I should watch it again. Having watched The Stand, I can't take any moral high ground and be like, well, I'm not going to indulge, because I fucking clearly am. Clearly am.
Omar says, that is what I meant.
That is what I meant.
Very good, sir.
Just when I was talking about The Stand, someone called Molly Ringworm started talking in the chat, and Molly Ringwald is in The Stand. So that's a bit weird. Strange coincidence.
Sean asked me if I was able to play a hero or villain in either a Marvel or DC movie, which would it be? I don't actually think... You know, when I was younger, I was like, I want to be Superman or whatever, but I don't actually think I would be good casting for... I can't think of a role in that I don't know. I mean, I don't think I look particularly like... I mean, maybe I don't know. What do you think? Greenland?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally. Like, I mean, I would sort of dig a bit deeper than the sort of obvious ones because I feel like those are such an insanely broad church.
Yeah.
That there are a bunch of kind of things. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you could do Vandal Savage because he presents himself in this kind of really. He's kind of like supposed to be a bit of a sophisticate, isn't he? And then it obviously turns out that he used to be a caveman.
Basically, you're calling me a Nazi because isn't he?
Wow!
Isn't he a Nazi at one point?
Oh, but it's like, but like Immortals is like, you know, I didn't realize Vandal Savage was a Nazi. I didn't know that.
He did. Well, there's in the Justice League cartoon. There's a thing where they go back to like World War II, and he has. I can't remember if he's time traveled or what it is, but he's basically taken over the Nazi party or something. So he's kind of
okay. Because he's lived through all the worst periods of history and stuff. He's supposed to be like, you know, he's just you're the worst. Vandal Savage. I was actually going more for the way that modern day Vandal Savage is presented as kind of like sophisticated and educated.
Oh, okay. Thank you. That's much nicer.
I mean, you are an art. No, yeah, no, that's kind of more what I was thinking. I don't know. It's such a kind of, it is a broad thing because like something we've seen in, you know, like Martin Freeman plays Agent Splinky Splonk in Black Panther, and that's Agent Ross, I think, and that's 100% a Shield character. I didn't know that because I'm not a Marvel fan, but like that's 100% a thing that's existed forever, and it's like, okay. You could play Hush.
Oh yeah,
that would be cool. Duncan for Hush. Hashtag Duncan for Hush.
Yeah,
that's what I said. Joe Mitchell just said, I always saw you as Doctor Strange, Duncan. I would like everybody to wait here. Entertain everyone, please.
Oh, okay. Doctor Strange, Red Skull. That would be funny. Although I do think I think Hugo Weaving did an amazing job with that. Sean Needham, £2. Thank you so much. Captain Britain for Marvel and maybe Savage for DC. That'd be pretty cool. I don't know really who Captain Britain is, but I am British, so I suppose there's that. Yeah, Vandal Savage was a cool character. I remember him in the Justice League cartoon. Right.
Sorry, did Duncan for Doctor Strange? Fuck that noise. Jackson for Strange. Clearly, I got to take the tash off. I can't see shit right now. These are Ivans. I just found them knocking around. I've just shaved my beard a bit.
Doctor Strange Love.
And Doctor Strange. Both.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
very cool.
The circular glasses. These are Ivans. I don't know why he has them.
Was Hush, remind me, is Hush the villain? Is he the guy who's basically Bruce Wayne?
Yeah, he's like, he grew up with Bruce Wayne. And he kind of so he's kind of like a sort of broken mirror of Bruce Wayne, and he ends up in that cool kind of trench coat and bandages look. Yeah. You could play Harvey Dent.
I could do that. I could see that. Harvey Dent, Two-Face is is a character I like a lot, and I kind of he was always like he was my kind of favorite Batman villain, even though
I did Hugo Strange, not Doctor Strange, Hugo Strange.
Yeah. I was
Doctor Hugo Strange. Well, nobody watches this show. It's fine.
But it worked. You did look a lot like Doctor Hugo Strange.
Yeah, this is the wrong Doctor Strange. Jackson for Egghead, says Mark Garside. I wish I was 1% of Vincent Price.
Yeah,
I wish.
Vincent Price. I did a Vincent Price for Caudry Effects, didn't I?
Yeah, that was great. That was good. Particularly since
I had to research that. I actually put a lot of effort into that. I watched a whole bunch of interviews with him to try and get his voice.
That was good for something that's outside your wheelhouse. Vincent Price is something that Ivan constantly works on. His Vincent Price. He doesn't have a broad church of impressions, but Vincent Price is the one that he's making his life's work. You know,
nice.
So, you know,
he's got like a mood board.
Yes. Eggs and thin moustaches on the.
That's right. Yeah. Pencil moustaches.
See, now Caspian S has given £2, and he's saying Rich in those shades, 100% Mr. Freeze. Yeah, somewhere between Mr. Freeze and Hugo Strange, I think is the, a sort of rusty Hugo Strange. I think is the.
Rusty.
Colin McLean says it's Professor, not Doctor. Just compound fracture of wrong, isn't it? It really is. Champagne 78, whose name I'm unfamiliar with, which has kind of drawn me to read their comment. I think Predator 2 has a superb opening sequence that the rest of the film struggles to match. Are there any films you can think of that have an opening act that overshadows the rest? Again, I really struggle. I hate these because these should be so easy to answer, but questions like that, and it's completely on me, it's like when someone asks me a direct question, I can't answer it, which is just a huge deficit in my brain. but it's sort of
I have the same thing. It's that being put on the spot thing that I struggle with as well.
I don't know with the great opening sequence. I just don't know.
There are. I'm sure that they'll come to mind. I tell you what, a film we watched last night, 21 Bridges with.
That's the Russos wrote that, didn't they? 21 Bridges.
Yeah, and it's good because it's got a lot of Marvel people in it, so it's a good cast. And what's his name? Black Panther.
Chadwick Boseman.
Thank you. He's brilliant in it. And they were all good, but it was one of those films that just was less than the sum of its parts. It was really weird. It was just because it was such a sort of, it was a really great police procedural that had obviously had the kitchen sink thrown at it as far as like production values and everything, and it was great. I just thought the plot didn't support. It was like caving in under the weight of all this beautiful sort of production,
right, okay.
And it's a shame because it was basically a cop story that it has. I won't spoil it, but there's a twist in the middle that's played up as quite a big thing, and it's like it's not. It's like every other cop thing. So it was like it's a bit, but it's worth watching because I think it's a good film. But I think that has an opening and a sort of first act that just isn't lived up to by the rest.
That's had plaudits, hasn't it? That one.
Is it?
Plaudits, yeah. People seem to like it.
I liked it. It's just quite a dull plot. It's one of those scripts. It's such a boilerplate script, which is a shame. But
I'm racking my brain. I can't think because I'm certain I'll be shit in a week and just be like, oh yeah. Maybe I'll tell you next Thursday. Maybe I suppose.
Prometheus, maybe like Event Horizon gets that lobbed at it quite a lot.
Yes, actually, yeah. Prometheus has quite a good layup, doesn't it? I think the setup to Prometheus is kind of quite interesting, and then it sort of. At the end of the first act, it just falls off a cliff. It's quite good, But in terms of an opening sequence that the rest of the film doesn't live up to, there are examples, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. So, was that a paid for question by Caspianus? Oh no, it wasn't. It wasn't paid for. Quite good, because I feel so much more guilty when it's a super chat question. I still feel guilty, just to be clear. But
I think the thing is, people sometimes think we're our kind of walking library of things that we can pull out of the hat, and it's like I'm not like that, it will come to me eventually when I'm not thinking about it.
The Vardon has just said the 1995 Judge Dredd. That's a good example. I do
sort of think
because it's quite actiony and stuff, and say what you like about the costume or whatever not being right, all those superficial things, whatever. But it's a cool Dredd being Dredd block war thing, and then it just stops being Judge Dredd shortly after.
Yeah,
frustratingly. So that is a very good one there, my friend. Sunshine. No, I like Sunshine. I'm a big fan of Sunshine. People talk about. Some people may say the same about 28 Days Later as well, because I think Alex Garland is often accused of third act problems. I think that's something that's often levelled at him.
Yeah. Champagne 78 says, sorry to put you on the spot, guys, but he says the original Blade is kind of an example. I can see what you mean because that blood shower sequence is pretty cool, but I think the rest of the film holds up to it. I do. I think it's still just as good. I think it's pretty consistent.
Steve Allen, here's a question. How do you find certain fan theories like they're all dead or they're in a coma? Those are a mixed bag because some fan theories are really cool and other ones just kind of like, well, you could apply that because particularly the they're all dead or they're in a coma, you can apply that to anything. And once it's kind of like, well, actually, like everything after series 2, episode 3 is a dream because Clive gets knocked unconscious. It's like, well, right. Like, the person writing that is not going to go, okay, guys, so after series 3, episode 3, it's all a dream. No one's going to do that. And you could just say that about any point someone gets knocked unconscious, which can happen a ton of times in a film or a TV show.
Someone said that about Brian Shields as Spectre. I'm assuming you were saying that as an example of a thing that doesn't live up to the opening, but Spectre has had that lobbied at as well, as like when James Bond has his brain drilled into, like, the rest of it's all just a dream. And it's like... No, it is. Like, some people have tried to sort of say that is potentially what it's like. No, it isn't. That's bollocks. That's just made up crap.
I've always been a sucker for the it's something that's talked about less these days. But I've always been a sucker for the multi-bond theory. I mean, if you pick at it too hard, it doesn't make any sense. But like, it's because it's like, okay, so there's a bunch of people who get given the same code name, but the people around him stay in their. It doesn't add up.
And they all, and as part of the ruse, they all like vodka martinis, shaken not stirred.
Yeah, exactly, and fall in love with the same
they
woman.
All say Bond, James Bond. They all have the same traits. They all married the same woman called Tracy at one point. It
holds no water.
None whatsoever. Yeah, it's like the whole thing as well. When people say like, I think it goes Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace, all of them, then Skyfall, and it's like, are you forgetting things like we meet Moneypenny in Skyfall, we meet Blofeld in frickin' Spectre? How on earth does that tie up to any of the rest of it? It's like those are a separate universe. Stop trying to reverse engineer this. It's like the same thing with Batman Begins.
People say something and it's Batman Begins. At the time, I remember people going like, everyone knows Joker killed a Batman. It's like, it's not the same film. Like,
I know.
It's mad how difficult people found that so difficult to accept. And it's mad, and I'm glad they pulled the trigger on that. Else would because you just couldn't reboot stuff because people wouldn't understand. When you sat there going like, mate, you watched his entire life more or less. Like, where do you think the other movie's going to fit? You fucking idiot.
I know. It just shows the level of some people. But the codename theory has been utterly destroyed. It just never was, and it's clearly not intended to be that way. Like there's so many.
Not. I love how bonkers it is, though. I've always loved how bonkers it is. Like, because apparently, because Lee Tamahori apparently said he was into it.
Apparently, but then he may die another day. So, and then also, there was what was the other thing that the Skyfall was potentially. So the ending of Skyfall originally was supposedly going to be, and I don't know how much I'd buy into this, but the idea was that it was a retirement home and they were going to go there and Sean Connery was going to be there, and it was like, and because in the bit when he's doing the word association thing with the psychiatrist and then he goes to Skyfall, and Bond's reaction to that, I know we're supposed to read it as he hates it because it's his family home, but it's like, if you read that as that's your retirement, that's you're going to be put out to pasture thing, it sort of makes his reaction make a lot more sense, because he says done, doesn't he? Like is the word he associates with it is done, and he gets up and walks off. And it's like, well, that if that's still part of that script at that point, that it was supposed to be a kind of like Bond retirement home, but it's like it still doesn't make sense. I suppose you could get away with saying that Sean Connery in that universe was never James Bond and he was some other guy who's just retired there. But I hate it.
Ross Sanders has just told me to fuck off. Don't know why. I've said a lot in the last few minutes. It's a sentiment that others share.
He also says, I very much hate Bond, which sounds like a German word, mush.
Yeah, look, I think it's distinctive grade media, I think, is referring to what you were saying earlier about the kind of crazy mashup theory of unified Bond. Yes. So there is. He's right. There's an IGN theory which is terrible again, and I saw good old Calvin Dyson, who's a very good Bond reviewer, and whom follows me on Twitter, and I follow, and I think he's great. He did a reaction video to that video, because I was like, I am not going to give IGN my hard-earned time and a view for something that I know is bollocks. And he did a watch. I watched him watch it, and it was hilarious because the way they try and crowbar in, that it jumps around to some ridiculous degree, and it's like there's so much stuff that's left out that's just for pure convenience. Like Octopussy happens after Skyfall. And then, it's just like, what are you doing? That doesn't make any sense. It was honestly, it was terrible. It was absolute wank. Okay, just a bit of housekeeping. Jason Newman sent £2 to PayPal, and he says, "Duncan, can you give me a Pierce Brosnan line?" And since we're in Bond Town, that seems.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've got to think of one now. Tomorrow's news today, or something. What's another Bosnan?
Bosnan.
That thing of him doing that Robin Hood thing, I have to reiterate. Please go see. It's
Thank
the
you, Dan
maddest
Lyles,
thing.
for that. It's so it's so ham. I love it.
It's like Robin Hood. It's like, what are you doing?
It's like cows were like small cows, and it's like, oh, Robin of Locksley. It's like.
Oh, he says poems and stuff like that. And it's like, what is this overproduced garbage? It's like, all right, I get a film's coming out about Robin Hood. Do we need a mini documentary about Pierce Brosnan walking around saying crap? He
so
looks
great.
Like someone who's just turned 40 and lost his mind.
He must have he was already like Remington Steele. It's not like he was a nobody. It's just a deeply weird, a really weird thing.
For me, because when did Prince of Thieves came out in 92 or
92
something?
Yeah.
And so it's like it's right like 3 years later he was James Bond, but like I think in that point he'd lost James Bond. He'd lost like a lot. He was making those crappy Death Train whatever movies. And it's like I just think he was literally hired to be a presenter on a program that was like
it's so good, and it's just sort of weird partridgey geography teacher type.
Yeah, it's
Robin
really
Hood robbing people sometimes wears a hood. Forest trees, England, and it's just like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
It's like, did someone plan this, or did you just sort of do it and send it in, submit it as an option for them to use?
I need to So I think I just said you did. Oh no, did you do? You did some Pierce for James. We should get on. It's been asked in the Caspian has just asked, and rightfully so, that we discussed the Terminator article.
Yes.
So Marcus sent this to me earlier today on WhatsApp, and so credit to Marcus. And it's So I mean, would you like to read it? You're the man with the silky voice.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't have it. Do you want to? Did you send it to me earlier?
I will ping it to you now. Don't read all of it. I'm going to say I think we'll get to the meat of it because it's mercifully short. I think is that we'll read then discuss. I'm just going to ping it to you on WhatsApp. If you are phone in hand or phone proximate.
Here, actually, yes. I'll use my phone. So I was going to get it.
Annoyingly contrarian. I mean, I know it's supposed to be funny, but it's just this really witless contrarian fucking.
The thing is, I think there's a lot of. So we discussed this earlier, and I have a real problem at the moment. There's a lot of people who get into sort of the whole arena of talking about films on the internet, which I don't necessarily consider film criticism, but there's a lot of people who sort of seem to think that I'm funny. It's this sort of. Until Omar put me onto that podcast in which Alex Zane talked about GoldenEye in very good detail, and I thought we actually made a really great case for it. He would be a prime candidate for the kind of person I'm talking about. I was wrong. He's not like that. But there are a lot of people who are like, I'm a funny presenter on TV, and I'll just sort of shoot from the hip with a bunch of crappy jokes where I don't really know what I'm talking about. I just
like
call
Nick
everything
Helm.
Terrible. I wouldn't know, but that's you know what I mean.
That was a completely random choice.
Of course. Anyway, so what do you want me to do? Do you want me to start reading?
I would say what it is. So the article is I've never seen the Terminator. I found a good point for you to jump on. It's basically a guy saying he's never seen the Terminator, but he's watched every Terminator film except the first one, and he thinks Terminator Genesis is brilliant, and he thinks Dark Fate is brilliant, and they're really funny. Ha ha ha. So if you scroll down the article, about halfway through, there's like a little kind of script with him and his mate.
Yeah.
And then after that it says good question. Have you found that part? Yeah. So
yes. Yeah. Great.
I think I've recapped that. He's never seen the Terminator. He's watching it for the purpose of this article. It's one of those nauseating I've never seen's. So yeah, from good question, if you can.
Okay. So just a bit before. You can see Arnie's willy. Yeah, Arnie's got a big part. This is the level of that's the kind of articulation we're talking about here. Okay, so good. So the question is: so are you finally understanding where all the references started? Good question. It's aged terribly. In italics, with all the perms, sleeveless t-shirts, honey-made graham crackers, gum, neon lights, Moog modular synthesizers, and smoking in the office. Could the Terminator be any more 1980s?
I hate that fucking Chandler Bing to criticize something for being of its time and then going, could it be any more? Anyway,
so it was made in the 80s, you cretin. So of course it was. It's set then as well, blithering idiot. Also, the bits with Carl Reese in the dystopian robot future are pants. Great. Wow. It's good that you showed you're working on that one. I know it was low budget. I know it was low budget. That's great editorializing there from The Guardian. I know it was low budget. But what did they spend the money on? Did special effects really advance that significantly in the 8 years between this and Terminator 2? Yes.
Yes, exactly did, yeah.
Yeah, and especially with a budget that's twice what this is. The music is awful. That's your opinion. The weirdest of all, Arnie in Shouty doesn't have any eyebrows. Oh, you did not pay any attention then,
if you
did
get
you?
burnt off in a scene, you actually see it. Do you think his hair just retracted as well, you cretin?
Well, he had eyebrows before that, and then he didn't.
Yeah,
Evil Arnie is certainly scary as he blankly guns down innocent bystanders and unfortunately named Sarah Connors. I think you should, that again. That's grammatic. Unfortunately named women called Sarah Connor, like not unfortunately named Sarah Connors. Are not anyway. That's not getting
Sarah's Connor.
No, He doesn't understand words, obviously. Interestingly, early model Arnie only boots up with 16K of RAM. Even my ZX Spectrum had 48K. How is that a criticism? Overall, I found the Terminator slow-paced, dated, boring, blurry, and easily the worst Terminator film I've ever seen. And for time travel paradoxes, it's a biggie. Sorry, best get in an expert.
Yeah, probably don't read the end conversation.
Okay.
So the thing is, someone who used to write still writes for the Guardian and is very, very good writer is Charlie Brooker. And Charlie Brooker, like, he has in his articles assumed a contrarian or opposite opinion for comic effect, and he does it very, very well. I've checked out a few more of this guy's things. His name's Rich Pelly, and it's like super fucking weak because it sounds like you're listening to a teenager. Like, it's kind of like his criticism is old and dumb, and I don't like things from the past. Like, he straight up just says the music is terrible in italics. That's it. It's terrible. It just feels so fucking sixth form contrarianism. Like, it's, you know what I mean? Like, the music, the haircuts are stupid. It does sound like something a teenager.
It's just reductive garbage. That's not film criticism. That's nothing. That's not even a piece. It's like if I was reading that, I'd be like, why are you wasting my time? You had an infantile reaction to a film.
Yeah,
that's not newsworthy. Like,
well, this is the thing. Again, someone who Charlie, like, I do chug his cock a bit, but Charlie Brooker's newspaper columns were fucking brilliant, and I've got all his paperbacks, all the collections.
He's very smart.
Like, yeah, he's very smart. He's very funny. Like, I find that so witless. And particularly operating, I mean, I know we're the poo and wee guys, I get it, right? But, like, you know, operating is doing film criticism shit on the internet, I get it. But it's in this, it frustrates me as someone who has studied textual analysis for film, firstly. So I spent so much of my time academically analysing film, right? Which I know sounds fucking dry and pretentious. But just to have this cunt come along, getting paid to write articles for The Guardian, and like that, it's just so kind of like, I don't like it because it's dumb. I like the dumb ones because it's like, come on, man. Like, where's the wit in this? Like, you can see Arnie's willy. Like, I know, again, rich coming from us, but you know.
Well, yeah, we're not paid we're not film critics. We're talking about, you know, we just discuss film. There's a difference. I get that, but it's like, yeah, like to sort of do some hit piece on the film for no apparent reason, and then especially when you show yourself up by saying things that demonstrate you didn't watch the film properly. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to sound like some blind fanboy who's just trying to defend his thing, but it's like it's just lazy, and like you say, it's purely designed to get him attention. That's all that
Which,
is. Which,
unfortunately, I freely admit what we're doing. But yeah. I just sort of think, fuck, that's lazy. Like, and do you know what? Do you know what? Tons of stuff in the Terminator has aged horribly. Like, a bunch of the effects look terrible now. But the thing is, you know, we buy into it and whatever. If the best you can go is like, ha ha, look at the stupid haircuts. I'm sorry, but that holds up to no scrutiny. And I read some of his other stuff, and I was just like, oh god. He used the phrase ledge as an adjective, which just makes me feel slightly nauseous. Yeah, absolute bargain basement, clickbait contrarianism. Like, again, you know, I admit the flaws in the Terminator. Just like calling Brad Fiddel's music terrible. Like,
I'm no fan of critics. I mean, I learned the hard way. Last year, I made the mistake of reading a lot of because I had two films out, and then Erica came out, and I read all the reviews. And the thing is, the two films I was in, and actually all three of them, I was a main role. And the two films that came out, I had generally good write-ups, or at least I got good reviews. And then Erica came out, and I had like mixed reviews. I had some good, some bad. You know, some didn't even mention me. That's fine. But it was like, and of course, you know, I had all that praise, right? I had like 75% praise, but the 25% that wasn't so glowing about me, I utterly took to heart, and it destroyed me for like a week. And it's like, that's why you don't read critics, because as well. And what annoyed me about it is that some of them completely misunderstood my character, or misunderstood what we were going for, and not just me, but like the production. You know, the stuff that they were criticizing. I was like, yeah, but that's, you know, we did know about all that. They did try and act like we overlooked stuff, and that's why it turned out like the way it did. And it's like, no, that was deliberate. Like, I mean, that's
I will
how.
Remind you that the very popular gaming channel outside Xbox, which I subscribe to, referred to you as suspiciously handsome.
Well,
in their Let's Play America, and I tried to insinuate Valverde Broadcasting into the narrative there, Let's Play America, but they just ignored me. was worth a go. I was like, one of us is him. Not like
Yeah.
that, because I tried to play it cool, but it's like, he's right here. I've got his number and everything.
Well, I think and actually, in fairness, to put some positives back the Guardian's way, their review of Erica was actually very well balanced, and they are the only ones that picked up on a thing that no one else did, which was that a lot of the acting of the ancillary characters in Erica, it sort of starts out quite wooden because or kind of vague, because that was the whole point. It was like, because some of us turn out to be good, some of us turn out to be bad, or maybe, depending on whatever choices you make, you can't give the game away in any way at the start, because that could be you being good or it could be you being bad. So you have to kind of play it in this weird way. And so that was something the Guardian was like, yeah, it's not fair on them because they have to. Well, it's not that it's not fair, but it's they're subject to the player's whim.
Yeah.
And so therefore, understandably, that, whereas every other one was like, she's bland or he's boring or that's, and it's like, yeah, but that
it requires you to be almost fucking psychic in your approach,
yeah, and it's like, and if you just played it through once, I guess you would think that, but actually, you've got to remember that like certain scenes happen in conjunction with scenes later on that mean I'm a completely different person at the end. So it's like that my opening scene has to be. I have to be either good or bad, but it's like I can't give the game. You can't sort of lean one way or the other because it's anyway. So that's
well, I do those. I've never seen articles. Everyone's met that insufferable twat that boasts about not owning a television, right? and that used to hold more water 15, 20 years ago. By which I mean it made you more of a cunt if you said it as a boast, but. It's the same thing. Like, I've never seen Star Wars. It's like, fucking whoopee do. Well done. Like, and it's something you wear as like a badge of pride. Like, I've never seen it. It's like, I've never seen The Godfather, right? I don't go on about it. I mentioned it from time to time. I don't write a shit think piece about it. It's like everyone is eating oranges all the time and they're all wearing suits. Like, what does that
Yeah.
What does that add to the discussion?
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, like I say, my attitude to critics it's not that I hate them or anything like that. They what I've realized the hard way is none of them they're not consistent. They won't all have the same opinion because they're humans, and some of them are idiots like the gentleman and it's just like they have agendas, they have the things they're trying to push. It's like you just have to, as someone who participates and makes these things, just stay the hell away from them. Let them say whatever they're going to say, because you'll do what I did, which is like, even though like 75% of it is glowing about you, the bits that aren't, you'll take to heart, and that's just human. So you have to stay away from it because it's bullshit.
I'm reminded of. Well, I knew a guy who used to who I met in a film class, who used all the fucking like, I don't own a TV. It's like, you're in a film class, mate. Like,
how do you watch the film?
Well, exactly. Presumably on his laptop. I had an ex-girlfriend a few years ago who got on my case for watching too much television, which I actually really don't watch any broadcast television. I watch a bit, but I watch. She's like, "Oh, you watch too much television." She watched like Amazon Prime and Netflix on her laptop all the time, but that doesn't count because she didn't own a television. It's like, I don't watch television either, motherfucker. Like, I don't watch any broadcast TV. I just fucking a bit, but I'm watching shit on streaming because it's 2020. You know what I mean? And it's sort of like, I don't own TV. It's kind of like, well, it's like, I don't own a car. It's what? But you drive to work in a tractor. Like, it's like.
Well, yeah. There are people. I mean, I probably get lumped into this category because I'm one of the I've never watched Game of Thrones people. Because that, again, it's that contrary. I don't do that because I just don't like it. But there is that contrarian contingent who will say it's the George Lazenby's my favourite James Bond people.
Yeah, sure.
And it's like, really, because I call bullshit. But whatever.
I need to just address Josh 72456. I hope you're still here, Josh, because Josh asked a question a bunch of times that kind of got lost in the crush, and I can answer it for both of us quite confidently. Have you watched all the Predator films, including the AVP films? Yes, we've both watched the whole Predator oeuvre. So sorry, Josh. I saw you come up a few times. I didn't want to ignore you. So there you go. So we're getting into the last
death throes.
Death throes. Yeah, 8 minutes. 8 minutes of death throes. So yeah, wrapping up. But yeah, that article is just bollocks, isn't it? And it's just so, and that the fact that guy's a regular columnist, it's just kind of like, ugh.
It serves to point out to hopefully those, because sometimes people do call us film critics, or they talk about us like we are, and I'm like, that serves to point out that we are not critics, and we don't review.
I'm keen to point out, because I have training in that regard.
Yes,
and I have actually done paid like articles and stuff before.
Yeah,
but it's not necessarily what this is. I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, and I've done film review, because like new releases I've reviewed on my own and stuff. So I think perhaps I might be a bit more than you are, but it's not really what we're going for here.
Yeah. Sorry,
because you're an actor, and I'm
yeah, and I have to be very clear about that. I'm not here to sort of critique stuff. I'm not here to say something is terrible or something is good. I may talk about an element of something being, but like, oh, clearly you can see the end of Predator 2 there with the lights coming up instead of a ship. That's arguably not good.
Well, we talked earlier today about kind of like lazy comedy derived from hypercriticism, and it's I think the shorthand these days is cinema sins syndrome. We touched upon that briefly in our private conversation in WhatsApp, and it's kind of like, how could he get? Because some things are like Guy Ritchie Sherlock Holmes. It really fucks me off when they go in the base of the House of Parliament. And they just come up at Tower Bridge. It's like 3 miles away. It's like, you're supposed to be someone who knows London. That London is your whole thing, Guy Ritchie.
Yeah,
but then there are other things where it's kind of like, oh, one moment he's holding the cup, but in the next shot he's got, where did the cup go? And it's like, that's what you took away from that scene, is it? Like, someone doesn't have a pencil, they had a moment ago. Well, I guess the whole thing falls apart, Don't let them make any more movies.
Yeah. I know, it's, yeah. I that's why it's just not a world I want to get into. I think it's one of those things as well, because I'm always very paranoid, even more so nowadays, about like what I say on the internet, who I might upset, what I could say that will get dredged up years later and thrown back in my face, and it's just.
Well, I think we're quite like, we've been doing this long enough now, because I think it's for people that come here new and don't know our previous life. It's like, we're a fucking podunk channel with no subscribers, but we were on quite a big channel for a long time, like years, and I've really learned. I've matured, because I was in my 20s when I started doing it, as were you. But I think I've got a fairly decent handle on what I do and don't say. I certainly know what I don't want to give away. I try to be sensible, try to avoid drama, where we can.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Very sober discussion, isn't it?
It's just about having fun. I mean, that's one thing that people sort of identify about us. It's about having fun at the end of the day, which I know puts some people's noses out of joint, because they're like, having too much fun. Stop with the fun. Talk about the film. It's like, well, you have a point, and I understand, but. We also need to have a USP as a channel. It can't just be regurgitating trivia.
Well, I think that's the difference between, and I mean this respectfully to him, this is a difference between our channel and Ollie's channel, I think. And I think a lot of people have said that. We're a bit more skewed towards the comedy. It's not that we don't know about movies, but it's a bit more skewed towards the improvisation and stuff. And I think it was his audience that were more kind of like, you're not talking about the film. Whereas our audience, to a degree, guys are sort of here because they like it when we don't talk about the film, but also like it when we do,
Yeah,
but like it when
which is a fair point, And I know that we came across, like, Highlander was always the thing that was brought up, but that we kind of came across on that because we probably engaged in the very thing we're decrying this evening, which is sort of tearing it to shreds without giving it its due and not. I mean, I think we tried to in places, but we didn't know the law, we didn't understand what it was all about. So, in fairness, that's, I suppose, where I have to hold my hands up, and so I just ripped the piss out of it. But it was fun.
Yeah, well, look, there are certain things that I'm not prepared to give the time of day to, and it is things like Highlander or Batman vs Superman and stuff like that. But I will, even then, I do try to look for the positives and stuff. And I think we were on a big wave of things on Ollie's channel where Kindergarten Cop, the Jaws series, the Amazing Spider-Man 2, there are all these ones where we were able to just take the piss because no one cared, to a degree. And we rode that wave, and then we were still on that energy when it came to Highlander, because we were just like, well, we don't give a shit about this film, so we're just going to take the piss, for better or for worse.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I don't know. We still got 148 people, man. We've retained them tonight. It's good numbers.
What up? Yeah, thank you guys for showing up, and this has been really fun. I've had a good time doing
this.
It's
good
I've always,
tonight,
always have a good time with Predator 2, but this one especially was fun.
Oh, I like these streams. These streams are fun. I enjoy doing this, man. Like no drinking tonight, just green tea and water.
Yes, we've both been sober as judges.
Sober as judges, yeah.
Which my great cousin, my late great cousin, Sir Desmond De Silva QC, who passed away a couple of years ago, he was not a sober man, and he was a QC.
Oh,
so it's bullshit.
So
the sober as a judge thing.
Not true.
It's just not true. It means being drunk. No, he wasn't drunk, obviously, but he was doing his job. I ought to highlight that.
Ross says Highlander commentary on Ollie's channel was the funniest thing he ever did. Now, I really enjoyed doing it. It rubbed a lot of people up the wrong way, and it's one of those things that's, I assume, gone now. I think he removed that ages ago. I don't know. So it's kind of lost forever. But like, I remember just having fun because I thought we were there for that kind of tone because I don't give a shit about Highlander. Like, I mean, if he wanted that, he probably should have got someone else in to talk about it other than us because we at no point expressed, we were into Highlander or anything.
It seemed like me to be open to that kind of just thing. It was in that same milieu to me as like other, because it's crazy and wacky and stupid. And it's like, well, I thought that was the point. We were just going to take the piss out of it. If you like it, fine. But,
yeah.
Anyway.
Well, Sam Montgomery says, could you do a commentary on Arrival? We're going to do commentaries when we're allowed to be in the same room again. Do you like Arrival? I really like Arrival. Great movie.
It was all right. It suffered from gladiator syndrome. So when I saw it, it had been way overhyped, and I didn't think it was as good.
I was shown it by the No TV girlfriend. I've just realised.
I
loved it. I think it was great. But yeah, you were at the.
It was all right.
The hype.
Yeah, it was okay, and everyone was like, "This is the most amazing thing since sliced bread," and I thought it was all right.
Yeah, fair dues.
I was a little bit Amy Adams out as well at that point because she was in literally everything that I'd worked.
Yeah, well, I just think because now they've done with the Brosnan Bonds, the Mr. Sunday Movie boys are on the starting with Man of Steel doing the DC movies, and they make a very good point. She's one of the best. Well, they say she's the best. Lois Lane, and I really like her anyway, but I really like her as Lois Lane, and she actually gets to do some reporting. So again, that's a positive I'll pull from those. Like she actually does journalism, which is nice,
which is fair, yeah. And I do think she's good. I might, do you know what? In the brief redalliance that I had with the Lois and Clark episodes that I did actually with Oliver, some of them for a commentary, I actually found that I thought Terry Hatcher was pretty good. I
loved that show.
I thought she was brilliant.
I loved that show. Yeah, she's great. Oh, Terry Hatcher's great. That's a bit. Yeah, this is a bit different because it's a TV show. She gets to breathe. So
yeah.
I used to love that show, and I used to watch that after my paper round on Saturday mornings. Watch Lois and Clark. Yeah, I like that show.
Yeah.
Cool. No, nice memories of watching that show. Well, look, it's over.
We're done, son.
It's over. I have not updated the Patreon credits, so some of you might not be on here, and some who have left in the last week because there are a few are still on here, but I will update. So it's a monthly update, so I'm going to update those in the week. So your name will be in. If your name isn't in lights tonight, it shall be next week for next week's stream. Which I'm thinking, should we go for remakes then? Should we put some remakes to the Patreons?
I'd like to refer you to our earlier conversation, Richard, off camera, where you talked about not doing one next week, but since you've now said that, I don't think we can. So
that was speculative. I was just guys. At some point, we might take a break because doing these once a week is maybe burning me out a little bit. But
I have, believe it or not, as well. I'm incredibly busy at the moment, so I could do with a bit of time off. But don't worry, I'm also keen to try and get as much FaceTime on at the moment because obviously once our little one comes along, I'm probably going to need to take some time out. Let's do one next week. Remakes, right?
Yeah, we'll talk about it. The things on there as a given, right? And we'll fill the blanks in.
Yeah.
I feel like I've got a bit of a kind of moral obligation to read a comment by Colin McLean, which I'm going to do. Don't care what others say on here. I still enjoy Oliver Harper's channel and his content and commentaries, and I'm glad you guys are all pursuing your own thing.
Good for you.
Interest of balance. Interest of balance.
I mean that. Not.
I'm sure. I just.
Good. No, please do continue to enjoy channels.
Look, we got beef, man. That's our own business. Like, if you get two channels you enjoy, then that's great too. And we're not gonna. I like to make little digs because do you know what my problem is? I'm like a kid. I do this in front of my mum all the time. I say the worst thing I can to watch her react so I can laugh at it. And it's a horribly childish impulse that I can't control. So sometimes I make a snarky little thing because I just want to make myself laugh. So yeah, it's important that I read Colin's comment there, and if any of you are still still into Ollie stuff and watch his channel, not a problem with us. You do you, like that's.
It's not a zero-sum game, man. I would never deign to sort of try and take away his audience out of some spiteful. It's not. We want you to enjoy him and us. Ideally, that would be.
Yeah.
So
there you go. Very sober, grown up. All right, we're going to smash the credits, guys. So thank you so much for coming. It's been a really fun stream. Really enjoyed this week. So we'll get some remakes up for you for Patreon. $5 and up to vote on Patreon.
$3.
$3 and up. Sorry, to vote on Patreon.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next week. So tatty, bye.
Bye.